subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
From her body. Terrifying energy radiance bloomed in midair, and infinite origin magic power permeated from her body. Half of the sky was dyed scarlet. Seeing that Wanda, who has been dazzled by power, is about to become another terror that destroys the world. "Child, clam down." The deserted voice sounded from the ear, like the sound of a clear spring flowing through the heart. "Fila," in the expanded aperture. A figure wearing a yellow hood came out of the portal. Was a rich green light blooms. As soon as Ancient One debuted, he opened Eye of Agamotto, reverse time directly, and fished out the dead Quicksilver. The artifact of salvation finally debuts. "Younger brother," Wanda shouted excitedly, and fell from the state of indifference and run away. Her face was full of excitement. But Ancient One's expression was not so relaxed. He looked at SCP-096 with a serious expression, as if he was facing a big enemy. "I have Agamotto wide open." The power of the time gem enveloped SCP-096, flooding towards it like a tidal current, trying to block him in the past time, or at least drag it down. But the result is to no avail. Tread. SCP-096 moves forward with firm steps. The action seems to be slow, but it is actually faster than expected. Facing the scouring of the long river of time, it began to move continuously at a terrifying speed, going upstream in time and space. Time EMI is a passerby, and its speed directly surpassed time. How can this be? Ancient One's unmoving face showed a rare look of horror. Chapter 053. 10 times the speed of light is far from being an opponent. Where is the limit of a shy person? One step, two steps. Seeing that SCP-096 was about to reach him, time went against the current to catch Quicksilver and kill him again. Next moment, whoosh, a figure that surpassed the speed of light suddenly flashed in front of him, snatching Quicksilver away abruptly. "Hey buddy, it seems that my speed is better." Red's battle suit is very eye-catching, with a Superman-like mark on his chest, except that the letter S has been replaced with a lightning-like mark, traveling at such a fast speed that even Quicksilver can barely see his trajectory. Want to fully capture his speed? Pure dreaming. Stopping again, it has left SCP-096 quite a distance away. "Rest assured, with me here, you'll be fine." Aaron is confident. He is the Flash faster than the speed of light. Because of the early establishment of the Avengers alliance and the turmoil caused by the containment, Bruce felt the urgency of the times and formed the Justice League in advance, the Flash as a member of the alliance. It is because the Speed Force was sent out to deal with SCP-096 and used this victory as an opportunity to announce the establishment of the Justice League to the world, directly overshadowing other organizations. That's Bruce's plan. Hope you can get a salary increase this time around." The Flash thought nonsensically. Just when he was feeling relaxed, he caught a glimpse of a figure out of the corner of his eye. Damn it, catch up so quickly. The Flash pouted, but there was no trace of fear on his face. Please, he is the Flash, with unparalleled speed. He doesn't believe that anyone in the world can catch him. If it weren't for this kind of self-confidence, no matter how much he trusted Bruce, he wouldn't be able to save people with the consciousness of death. Joke. Do you know the gold content of 10 times the speed of light? Military what? You said that boy in the red battle suit. The real speed is already approaching 10 times the speed of light. The general of the army stared wide-eyed, which was completely challenging his cognition. Are you sure it's not 10 times the speed of sound, but 10 times the speed of light? Humanity's strongest technology has not even touched the edge of the speed of light. Tell me, now even 10 times the speed of light has been artificially calculated? This is simply challenging his cognitive limit. No, hearing the voice of denial, the general of the army had a look of joy on his face, thinking that he could save his crumbling scientific outlook, but the words of the technician next to him made him fall from heaven to hell. Not approaching, but reaching. His current speed has reached 10 times the speed of light, and is even slowly climbing. Click. It was as if something had cracked. 10 times. Speed of light. Unimaginable speed. This is not the point. The point is what is behind that guy. Even the Flash's speed is unimaginable. It ran through most of the city in an instant, but still unable to escape the pursuit of SCP-096. As the Flash's running speed continued to increase, the distance between them was not widened, but instead was continuously shrunk strangely, shrinking visible to the naked eye. The pursuit action is put on the macro level. It is the pursuit of two light spots. The people who eat melons can't see their specific actions clearly, and they can't even capture their trajectories, but they can see that the relative distance between the two light spots is constantly shrinking, and the distance is constantly approaching. Those who knew the true meaning of this scene were all wide-eyed and dumbfounded. This is 10 times the speed of light. Not the speed of sound. It's the speed of light. Mutant Academy, this is unstoppable pursuit. Professor X couldn't help swallowing his saliva and broke through all the defenses at an unimaginable speed. 10 times the speed of light? Even this cannot escape the Shy Man. It's too scary. Asgard, in this world, there is such a monster. Odin frowned tightly, having a body in peak condition, after being able to use Odin's power without any scruples. It was the first time he had such a solemn expression. The terrifying pursuit is like a tarsal ant who can't think of a way to get rid of it. 10 times the speed of light cannot escape the pursuit. Even in his prime state, if he wanted to escape through speed, it would be difficult to truly achieve it. As for exile, even the countercurrent of time, that ancient one erupts with all its strength, can't stop it from chasing and killing. Odin definitely won't be arrogant enough to think that if he is exiled to other countries in the Nine Realms, he can sit back and relax without worrying about being chased and killed. The difficulty of traveling through time is much higher than the difficulty of traveling through the world, and this may not be its limit. Odin's faint voice sounded in the Golden Hall with inexplicable complexity. Were its limits? What is the maximum speed? The same question emerged in Nick Fury's mind. Look at the text on the exposure information. Although he doesn't want to admit it, Nick Fury knows that its speed limit is very likely to have no limit. The speed that can climb endlessly. The specifics only depend on the person being hunted down by it and the distance between them. This is the possibility that Braised Egg guessed based on previous cases, but it is infinitely close to the truth. The never-ending speed climb. No matter how fast it is, it can't escape its pursuit. This is simply a monster. Nick Fury clenched his fists, his voice trembling slightly. The operation of Ancient One's countercurrent time is too fancy, and not many people can understand it. But the horror of the Flash, 10 times the speed of sound. Anyone with a little brain can guess. That's it. It's hard to escape the pursuit. SCP-096 keeps approaching in pursuit. The shadow of death has once again enveloped Quicksilver. Chapter 054. Ancient One. The only time in thousands of futures. Please, save my brother. Wanda looked nervous, with pleading in her eyes. After getting out of the state of running out of control, the power of origin magic power alter reality in her hand weakened countless, and she could only hope for help. Child, calm down. Ancient One's plain voice sounded, but the expression on her face was unusually solemn. Not just her. Even the Flash, who was full of confidence just now, had a gloomy face. Be cool. Even the fastest speed can't avoid that guy's pursuit. What the hell is that? He tried to travel to the future with super speed force and get rid of SCP-096, but before he could do it, there was an instinctive threat of death. The perception of danger told him that once he did that, he would die faster. The Flash obviously wouldn't bet on it. It's not just about saving lives. According to the trigger mode of SCP-096, once anyone who sees it will be locked by it, and then they will usher in endless pursuit after a short cry. So, he, Quicksilver, and even Ancient One are, to some extent, online grasshoppers. As long as Quicksilver is killed, ending a cycle, the monster will retarget them soon, and the next round of hunting will be staged on them. Never-ending speed boosts. Even he can't escape it all. Before, confidently say that absolutely no one can catch up with is the Flash. Now the self-confidence that is considered to be hid is gone. But I can only run. Whoosh. The figure that surpassed the speed of light kept galloping back and forth on the field, feeling the death approaching step by step behind. The Flash was numb all over. When the hell is this shit going to chase? Please, Mage over there, is there anything I can do? Help! The Flash looked embarrassed. If Quicksilver is killed by SCP-096, the next trigger target will be either him or Ancient One, who can't run away at all. Once shot is equivalent to jumping into this quagmire. Want to drop out? Totalement impossible. Looking at the ferocious posture of that monster, it is impossible to let him go. Damn. The corner of the Flash's mouth twitched. Don't worry. Ancient One wore a wide hood. Most of his face was hidden in the blur, and the expression on his face could not be seen clearly. Buzz's eye of Agamotto struggles to bloom. The surging green light continued to smudge around her, turning into an emerald-like color. Even the peaceful eyes were dyed dark green. Glimpses of light flashed alternately in his eyes. Try my best to spy on the short future, try to find hope from countless possibilities. Result nothing. These contained objects are all abnormal existences, unimaginable, unfathomable. Although it has been tried countless times, Ancient One can't find any flaws in it at all, and any known method can't stop it. The process may be fast or slow, but the result is the same death. The bloody scene dyed the world red. Everywhere was enveloped by the killing of SCP-096. No one was spared. The contained object is not an existence that can be intercepted by human power. It's almost like some kind of rule, some twisted rule. Let go of the eye of Agamotto, the Ancient One who found nothing, with the fear that has not dissipated in his eyes. But a smile unexpectedly appeared on her extraordinary face. A possibility. Ancient One raised his finger quietly and compared a number to everyone. Thought conduction starts. Voices echoed in the Flash and Wanda Quicksilver at the same time. Listen to me. No matter what situation you encounter, keep calm. Calm is the only chance. Then just try our best and drag it to the end. This is our only chance, and also the only chance for Quicksilver. The only one out of thousands of possibilities. There is firmness in Ancient One's cold voice. The self-confidence and confidence cultivated for hundreds of years quickly capture their trust. Perhaps there is also her domineering appearance and her time-defying record as a premise. Prophets are always easier to trust. That's it now, run. The Flash ran wildly on the road with a bitter expression on his face. Why is it always him who suffers? Whoosh. It keeps blooming at a speed beyond common sense. No matter how many times I've seen it, it is still shocking. But soon, there is an existence that shocked them even more. Buzz, 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 the roar of the propeller resounded in the sky. It's the sound of fighter jets approaching. If it's just a fighter jet, it definitely won't attract attention. But the marking on the tail end of the wing makes the whole thing rise to an unattainable height. Foundation. Shot. Surrounded by the black light tyrant, the Special Operations team and D-level staff jumped out of the helicopter one after another. Exactly the same appearance. This time it brings not only horror, but also an indescribable security. The Foundation is here. The world is saved. Chapter 055. What will the Foundation's means be? Great. Finally saved. I knew the Foundation would definitely make a move. The Foundation is invincible. You know a hammer, and you can shoot it afterward. As the familiar logo appeared on the broadcast screen, the sluggish atmosphere on the internet finally brought a climax. The horror of this monster definitely makes countless people tremble with fear. The most important thing is that it has the characteristic of killing regardless of distance, which means that the audience in front of the screen, may also be randomly selected to kill. Originally, it was just for watching a movie, but it turned out to be a participatory one. The most important thing is that this thing came from a horror movie. Who doesn't panic? But now, don't worry at all, because the Foundation made a move. Several invincible shots and easy-to-handle solutions have already made the Foundation take root in the hearts of countless people, leaving a reliable and powerful impression, which is much more profound than the Nordic God King and Supreme Mage. The Foundation, which has never failed, is synonymous with the natural enemies of the contained objects in the eyes of countless people. This one, steady, SHIELD call, have they finally made a move? Nick Fury breathed a sigh of relief. His clenched fist couldn't help loosening a little. Facing this kind of opponent that surpasses the speed of light, the oppressive force is too great. But face this monster. What means will they take to contain it? Nick Fury stared hard at the picture, trying to see the mystery from it, discovering the tip of the Foundation's hidden iceberg. Asgard, is it over? Odin's expression was a bit dignified, and a golden light shone in his one eye. Facing this kind of monster, even he couldn't think of any way to deal with it, so he could only try to suppress it by force. But from the opponent's strange killing methods, even Odin himself has little confidence in whether he can defeat SCP-096. Mutant Academy, finally all right? Fortunately, caught up. Professor X breathed a sigh of relief. If something happens to Quicksilver and Wanda, for Mutant, it is definitely a huge loss. It is obviously the best result for their siblings to persevere until the Foundation rescues them. Gotham City, fortunately, the stern expression on Bruce's face finally softened a little. The Flash went to save people under his orders. If he was killed by SCP-096 because of this, Bruce would never forgive himself. The newly established Justice League will definitely collapse in an instant and become a mess, existing in name only. World debut, not just announcing their existence to the commons. It is also the first step to push superhero to the front of the stage and need this power together. Absolute, there is no room for loss. Statue of Liberty, oh dude. Is this the opportunity you said? It's awesome. The Flash felt relieved. The moment the Foundation came on stage, even he couldn't help but feel ecstasy in his heart, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. Breathing becomes easier. The despair of approaching death step by step, he almost couldn't hold it anymore. Finally saved. This is great too. The joy of relaxation was fleeting in my heart. Puff, what? The Flash turned his head in disbelief, and the sound of a sharp weapon piercing flesh was very ear-piercing. On the bare skin of the battlesuit, there was a warm touch. Like blood. Scarlet blood just spewed out from his body, even with a bit of warm scalding. Quicksilver died right in front of him, with a bloody appearance. He couldn't see the original handsomeness. SCP-096. The monster is coming. Brush. Before the Flash reacted, the D-Class members of the Foundation, who jumped out of the helicopter, rushed over first. Standing in front of the Flash, like moths to a flame, actively let SCP-096 lock him in as the next target to kill. Who dash, the sound of whimpering sounded from the side, and SCP-096 entered a shy state again. It's now. Ancient One, who had been waiting for the right time, finally broke out. Two clusters of magical energy flickered in their hands, pulling towards the Flash and the others, directly opening the mirrored space to envelop it. Mirror space, don't worry. Ancient One reached out to comfort Wanda, who was about to collapse after witnessing Quicksilver's second death. Buzz-eye of Agamotto turns. In the pervasive green light, the river of time flowed backwards and Quicksilver was fished out again. The previous suspended animation was just a ploy to allow the Foundation to take over smoothly and give them a chance to leave. Anyway, with the time gem in hand, it is easy for Ancient One to scoop up people from the short past. Call finally rescued. Ancient One felt relieved, exhaled a foul breath, and looked towards the outside world solemnly. Now, just the reaction of the Foundation. If they couldn't get rid of SCP-096 properly, then this trick of their own would only delay Quicksilver's death time, and it would have no effect on the facts. But this is already the only timeline she can understand. Among the countless short futures shown by the eye of Agamotto, only this one made her unable to see the result clearly. When the Foundation appeared, the future became a mess of chaos, which could not be observed at all. Unknown. Only then may there be miracles. What method will be used to break the situation? Ancient One had a solemn expression. That monster can become a trigger medium through videos and photos. Although SCP-096 appeared for a short time, due to the exposure of the video, it left a lot of traces on the internet and personal terminals. There are too many people with ulterior motives and people who are not afraid of death. These are all ticking time bombs. If you don't solve it, can't even talk about successful containment. Chapter 056, Cutting Off All Virtuality, Erasing the Sphere of Concepts. SHIELD, the Foundation? What are they going to do? Nick Fury stared gravely at the screen. The scene where Ancient One took Wanda and the others away didn't attract much attention. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the appearance of the Foundation. Faced with this monster with unlimited speed, what countermeasures the Foundation will use to deal with it is what attracts countless people's attention. Beyond 10 times the speed of light, countercurrent time, a monster that cannot be blocked by time and space. How will it end? Will there be more advanced beings showing up? There was something curious in Odin's eyes. With some common people alone, he really can't imagine how the Foundation can solve SCP-096. In the eyes of everyone's anticipation, the staff of the Foundation finally started their operations in an orderly manner. The D-Class personnel stepped out of the helicopter one by one, like moths to a flame, and actively let SCP-096 lock and kill. When it changes into a shy state and buries its head in tears, it is SCP-096 spellcasting shake. Take advantage of this time. Surrounded by the black light tyrants, the Special Operations Team carried a thick steel airtight cube compartment, with no cracks or voids visible around it, like a compartment cast by sophisticated instruments. Then, the Black Light Tyrant and the Special Service Team worked together, directly facing the shy man under the hood. Inside, there was also a D-Class staff member who was targeted by him. Several dial instruments, such as pressure sensors and laser detectors, are mounted on the steel airtight facade, used to determine if SCP-096 is in its containment chamber. A set of flowing movements, the same as the previous containment, they are very familiar. It seems to have been rehearsed countless times. Even with the most stringent posture, there is no fault or omission. But does this really work? Nick Fury frowned, doubting the Foundation's containment procedures for the first time. SCP-096 mode of killing is to be seen first. Then trigger the key, enter the shy mode, after 1 to 2 minutes of shake before casting, and then start killing. Lock it in a closed space and cut off the possibility of being seen by others. Indeed, it can effectively prevent people from being seen in reality. But its trigger method covers images and photos. In the exposed videos, there are never a few people who have ulterior motives and intentional deaths. There are definitely people who back up copies privately. Even the people who were hunted down in the real streets. There are some lunatics who deliberately took pictures to keep them popular. The Security Council and SHIELD, plus national organizations, blocked the internet transmission. But personal terminal. In a short time, there is no way to clean it up. Those who keep copies are not only the common people, but more professionals and even the top organizations. Nick Fury frowned, his expression dark. If SCP-096 cannot be handled properly, judging from his performance today, this weapon is simply more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. Most importantly, the conditions for using it are too simple. Military pretty. This monster has finally been dealt with. The Army General laughed out loud and slapped the table happily. Turning his head, he smiled ferociously. Clear the information to the end. This kind of power can only be controlled by the Empire. The horror of this weapon is definitely clear to them, so it can only be controlled by the Empire. At the same time, on the internet, under the seeming tranquility of gouging, an unimaginable war broke out. A battlefield without gunpowder smoke is no less tragic than a nuclear war. Mirror space, this is the Foundation's solution? The Flash looked up. Let D-Class personnel actively enter. Use clones to lock SCP-096 attention, and any shake before casting to block its way forward. The effect is indeed good, but it always makes people feel that there will be endless troubles. It is understandable if it is a national power that thinks of this method. But if the Foundation handles these things, it will always make people feel a little low. It's completely different from the Foundation's invincible style in the past. This kind of containment method will cause too much trouble, right? Have no idea. Ancient One shook his head. Although he has seen the Foundation appear in the long river of time, Ancient One does not know how they are contained, and their future is full of horrors that cannot be peeked at. Ancient One only chose this method out of hope for the unknown, betting on the possibility of survival. That's all. My God. What's that? Dude, look up there. The Flash turned his head in disappointment, subconsciously looking at the broadcast screen. The above content made his eyes widen, as if he saw an incredible existence. The vastness is indescribable. Even can't look straight. This is... Ancient One looked up reflexively. Almost at the moment of looking at the screen, countless concepts crazily poured into the body. Whether active or passive, the field of vision was eroded and invaded, and other substances were swept away, leaving only his existence. Not just Ancient One, the Flash. Instead, all life forms in the world inevitably see his figure in their eyes. Spear. A spear that looks like a common, but no one dares to think it is a common. Chapter 057. What did you do? The spear body of the wooden spear was twisted, and there were some wooden thorns on it, which looked very rough. It's like the bark of a dead tree that is about to fall off, the kind that hasn't even been dried. The front part is tied with stone tools as the spearhead, full of the style of the primitive era, a bit too crude. If it hadn't been for his domineering intrusion into the field of vision and his domineering posture of occupying the center, people would definitely have regarded it as scraps picked up from roadside flower beds, or even children's play toys. Compared to mythology and legendary, the god kings of all walks of life, the spear-like artifacts controlled by the gods, are really far behind. Just the Kunganir that Odin had thrown before. The miraculous gun forged from various Asgard metals is countless ranks higher than him in appearance. Countless times more cool, completely incomparable in appearance. But when he starts turning, obviously it was just a light knock. Not even hard, it was just a little light. Next moment, countless people's expressions changed in shock. What the hell is this? The originally crooked and simple spear gradually faded away in the picture. It seems like the lead is washed away, and it seems to be volleyed. Common's fur broke free, revealing an incomprehensible gesture. Alternating reality and illusion. The endless rotation is like Ouroboros spinning on the spear. The alternation of the double helix, the twisted reality of no return. At the place where they meet at the end, they are firmly nailed to the tip of the spear. The seemingly common wooden spear sealed off all changes, and all virtual concepts froze at this moment. With a wave, the spear dissipated. Only a back figure turned away. The screen suddenly went dark. When others come back to their senses, buzz, the roaring sound of the propellers sounded, and the staff of the Foundation had completed the containment task. He boarded the plane with ease and left lightly like this. Considered a calamity by countless people, the snake-like SCP-096 didn't even stir up any waves. The cry was no longer heard. Return to the quiet world, as if returning to peace. Sounds like a nice happy ending. But the Foundation's bewildering containment process has caused countless heads of forces to scratch their heads. Him. What did you do? Military, what did he do? The general of the army who held the important position suddenly stood up and slapped the table excitedly. The flustered appearance is no different from the common people. He reached out and patted his body and found that there was no change, and the anxiety did not disappear. On the contrary, he became more apprehensive. He didn't believe it. The stance just now was just a feint. The majestic phantom seems to run through the concept, absolutely beyond imagination. And a figure with a spear. Although it was just a back view, and he couldn't see the specific appearance clearly, he had a feeling. Absolutely the top of the Foundation. It's not those man-made humans and clones, which look like mass-produced arms and consumables. It's the top executives who really control this mysterious organization. How could such a character faint and joke with them? before you figure out what he did. These generals in the military may not even sleep well at night. Asgard, there's definitely something I haven't discovered. Odin looked solemn, and the fear in his eyes was about to become real. His views and the military as a retreat. Such a grand occasion. It is absolutely impossible to play them on purpose. From the indescribable wooden spear, he even perceived some kind of higher dimensional power, overflowing concept. Even he couldn't understand it deeply. It has surpassed the limit of his strength. Even he has a feeling. It seemed to be just a shadow of some kind of supreme artifact. The appearance of this unimaginable expression is absolutely impossible to be a joke, and the existence of the Foundation has also appeared for the first time. Although I can't see the specific silhouette of the corner of the clothes, compared with the previous mysterious appearance, it is obviously zero breakthrough. The containment was rampant, the Foundation was dispatched, the staff left, and the spear appeared, etc. Odin, who was sorting out the development of the matter, suddenly raised his head in shock, his eyes filled with disbelief. Odin suddenly found out. He can't remember what SCP-096 looks like anymore. I only remember the serial code and the mode that triggered the killing, but all the memories about its appearance have disappeared. It's like related concepts are erased from the mind by people. Military, general. All images, pictures, and even records related to SCP-096. All gone. The young Major General stepped forward with a look of horror. The information stored in the secret vault has been deleted and disappeared without even a trace of existence. It is impossible for the top hackers to do this. The strange thing that proves this is the blank paper in his hand. There is not even traces of paintbrush on the blank paper. Before that, this is the portrait of SCP-096 drawn by the master sketcher of the Empire. Moment. All information on SCP-096 appearance was completely erased. It seems that there is a huge amount of eraser, which regards the world as a drawing paper and erases the traces of smearing on it. Chapter 058. God exists, and he is a Bactrian. Pocket Space Foundation Base. Call Lin Xiu breathed a sigh of relief, with a relaxed expression on his face. It was obviously him who made the move just now. Finally solved. Lin Xiu shook his hand. The feeling of being in control is really fascinating. That's right. You just redeemed the newly unlocked module. Thaumiel the Twin Gods, with massive exposure value, exchanged for an attack. SCP-1109, a tapered spear. The Foundation-specific deletion tool can theoretically kill all fictions and has the power to easily penetrate the narrative layer. If it really erupts, even the world under his feet will hardly escape his scope of erasure. Such over-the-top stuff. It is definitely impossible for Lin Xiu to summon real matter. The exposure value accumulated with great difficulty is almost burned out, and it is just a corner of the projection, borrowing a ray of light from him to erase all the information recorded by SCP-096. It's really strong. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly. He can feel that if there is enough exposure value to project this Foundation treasure into reality, his real form is definitely the one that gods block and kill gods, Buddhas block and kill Buddhas, and even the 5 Shindu kills will show you. The projection version can only erase virtual concepts on the internet. In the real version, characters related to the virtual concept will receive special damage bonuses. Go down with a spear, whether you're a single universe or a multi-universe. It will be erased from the root in minutes. Pity, the consumption is too great. Lin Xiu smacked his lips. The blow that seemed to be an understatement just now exhausted all his previous accumulation. The projected version can squeeze him dry, not to mention the real version whose power has increased countless times. Fine. The previous unpredictable blow was regarded as a complete blow to the Foundation's reputation. In addition to the huge army of clones, it also filled the vacancy at the top of the organization, forming a closed loop of power, dispelling the suspicion in many people's minds that the Foundation was just a shell organization. Crash. In the torrent of data flowing down, the increase in exposure value is like riding a rocket. The growth rate has directly increased exponentially. Totally took off. Nice. Lin Xiu nodded in satisfaction, and a system notification sounded in his ears at the same time. Ding. Containment of SCP-096 successful. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a controllable version of SCP-096. Is it settled? Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly, and he turned his attention. SCP-096 Shy Person. When someone sees its face, no matter if it is directly seen or seen its video or even a photo, it will enter a state of serious sadness, and after a short period of time, it will hunt and kill it at all costs. Any known materials and methods cannot stop the progress. The speed is 35 kilometers per hour to no upper limit. Note, the owner, Lin Xiu, can control it without affecting the killing process. Is there finally an extra thug that can be used? Lin Xiu raised his eyebrows. Little Peanut and Uncle 682 can indeed be used as well, normally as pointed out by the arm, but Lin Xiu had a brain twitch to tinker with these two. Extraordinary times. One is a subordinate of the Supreme Divinity, and the other is simply the Supreme Divinity, which is still the top one. One is more vicious than the other. But if there's an accident, not only the Earth will be cold, but the entire universe will have to play GG, and the multi-universe will be affected at the last time. Lin Xiu is not surprised that there is an OA. He's not that big of a heart yet. 096 is just right. It's completely controllable, so you don't have to worry about making trouble. According to the test records of the Foundation, even 343 gods can be chased and killed, which is very powerful. Moreover, its trigger procedure is simple, and it can be used with a little brain power. Lin Xiu's control over it can also allow 096 to contain and suppress it in time after the killing procedure is over, so that it will not become corrupted and uncontrollable. Reliable. Ding. Containment of SCP-096 complete. Is it possible to extract the 7th contained item for exposure and coming? Whether the familiar process is staged before your eyes. Extract. Lin Xiu nodded, and a spot of light jumped out of the dull circle of light. The scarlet radiance was full of ominousness. Various negative auras flowed out from inside, mixed with palpitating evil thoughts. The squirming unknown flesh and blood are the kind that need to be mosaicked every minute. This time, it looks a little tricky. Lin Xiu frowned. He reached out and clicked on the holographic projection and pulled out the map miniature. The containment this time is very troublesome, and it is another XK-class doomsday disaster. It must be carefully selected to find a suitable landing point to release, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. That is, it should not be too remote, nor should the flow of people be too dense. I have a choice military. Have you sorted it out? The general's voice trembled a little. Compared with his domineering appearance before, he seemed to be a different person. Yes, the young major general came over. His expression was extremely serious. All disappeared. Even the copy records stored in the key have been erased. The army general nodded in a daze. Erase and write at will, this almost conceptual ability. Even if it is only limited to the internet, it is no different from a real god in modern society. What's more, they are simply not sure whether this power is limited to the virtual world, and if it also works in reality. The consequences are completely unimaginable, especially the back of that being. The general put down the top secret report in his hand and looked up at the screen with serious eyes. I have to say, the one who knows you best is always your enemy. Spear Bureau, it is different from the dignified aura of Yingjiang military. Here, in the technologically sounding venue of the Shin Spear Bureau, most people had a somewhat uncontrollable look of joy on their faces. The long seats are rarely full. Everyone looked at the screen seriously, including director Zhang Xian. There is an indescribable expectation mixed in all the expressions. Are you sure? Because of being too excited, Zhang Xian's voice was a little hoarse. Yes, the other party's dressing style, as well as the way of action and action habits, are highly similar to ours, and there's a high probability that they belong to our compatriots. If the other party is from the Earth, this possibility will increase infinitely. 98% is the current calculation probability. This conclusion comes from the data science department, where countless people stared at the screen and played it back frame by frame, comparing and analyzing hundreds of thousands of times. Now, they're still analyzing it in detail. The figure of turning around was almost out of the research of those people. The reliability of the conclusion is very high. Judging from the strength of the Foundation's high level, who can easily erase and write data, it can be called conceptualization. He is more like a god in Legendary than God King Odin. God exists. He is a Dacia man. At least he was. So a new round is coming. Zhang Xian watched the countdown start again on the screen and felt that the burden on his shoulders seemed to be lighter. Manhattan, interesting existence. Dr. Manhattan was walking on the street, obviously with the eye-catching blue skin and the weird posture like a god. But the people around him didn't seem to notice it, and they all turned a blind eye. And, unconsciously, he will avoid his position. Even the crowds of cars are no exception, just like Moses dividing the sea. Electronic instruments also failed to capture his presence. Did not expect this universe actually still exists. Foundation. Dr. Manhattan looked up with a bit of surprise in his eyes. After restarting, he didn't care about anything at all. He followed the times and fulfilled the self-development of a universe. He didn't care about the previous containment and the Foundation's containment, just regarded it as dust in the universe. But the moment Lin Xiu appeared holding a tapered spear, he really surprised him. Unimaginable power. Concepts beyond thinking. Even the power of connection in his body trembled faintly, as if he was afraid of the deeper power of the spear. Interesting. The calm heart in Manhattan's ancient well was once again turbulent. Look up at the sky. The countdown on the screen kept beating. The next containment. Will it bring me a different scenery? Dr. Manhattan looked up slightly. In the dead, silent eyes, inexplicable expectations began to sprout. For the omniscient, the unknown beyond comprehension is definitely the most wonderful thing in the world. Chapter 059, Arrival, Distorted World. Who is crazy? SHIELD, pretty, perfect ending. Doctor Strange clapped his hands. He didn't have any interests, so he didn't need to think so much about what he had. All he knew was that the Foundation had successfully contained it, and the world had avoided another major crisis. Ancient One Mage also managed to leave after the shot. He definitely won't frown. Don't be too happy, it's just begun. The countdown is not over yet. Black Widow's chilly voice sounded beside him. Throw buckets of cold water on Doctor Strange. Pointing to the screen, a new countdown has started. Hope is a simple thing. Thor smacked his lips. He was really a little nervous because of these containment. If SCP-096 hadn't been contained, he would definitely suffer from insomnia at night. Simple. The things above are never easy. Captain America shook his head, with a worried look on his face, obviously not very optimistic. Where's Tony? It feels like I haven't seen you for a long time. Barton came over and scratched his head, changing the subject to avoid conflict. It seems to be completing his big plan. Black Widow raised his lips, showing a charming smile. I don't know when it will be finished. It's really exciting. Start building, great. I finally got it done. I'm indeed a genius. It's like having a conversation across the air. Tony, who was immersed in mechanical manufacturing and piles of drawings, suddenly raised his head with excited ecstasy on his face. Beside, it is a pile of humanoid machines. Some are as simple as the original machine, and some are as perfect as the finished product. There are all kinds of exquisite machinery, and the Gundam is lined up like a model exhibition. It is definitely the dream of countless men. JRVS. According to the latest modeling and design, we will try our best to build Ultron 1 and set a small goal, so the production line will be fully powered and all the metal front parts in stock will be consumed. Ultron 1, it is the serial number he named for the newly researched machine. After, as technology evolves, 2-3-4-5 is sure to emerge. And more. Tony has absolute confidence in his ingenuity. Yes, sir. Boom. Various indicator lights lit up one by one, and the roaring production line also started manufacturing in full swing. Pretty. Tony snapped his fingers happily and picked up the red wine while humming. Stretch out your hand and swipe in front of you. He pulled out the technological holographic projection. The screen shows connecting. On the other side was a good friend of his. Long time no see. Tony raised his glass. It seems that your plan has succeeded. Bruce's handsome figure appeared on the call. It's an initial success. Thanks for your help. Tony smiled. In research, Bruce's help was absolutely indispensable. All kinds of whimsical ideas, as well as ideas for easy communication, even made Tony feel like he is his long-lost twin. The help is really great. It's all for the peace of mankind, Bruce said with a stern expression. Yes, for the peace of mankind. Tony, who was laughing and laughing, soon became serious. Like Bruce, he looked at the sky screen with a solemn expression, and the countdown was nearing the end. Exposure countdown. 0 hours, 29 minutes. The waiting time is always long, especially on the eve of a major event. In the countdown of countless people, the countdown returned to 0 again. Whether you want to or not, humanity has not denied the right to its coming. Exposure. The seventh containment object, SCP. 610 is the flesh and blood of hatred. In the illuminated light curtain, a mass of squirming flesh and blood appeared. Even if it is for the viewing experience, there's a thick mosaic on it, but it still does not affect its nausea. Almost as soon as it appeared. Vomit. What the hell is this? Why? Is it so disgusting? I'm gonna throw up, no. Help! People who stick to the screen and try to get first-hand information. Caught off guard by this kind of spiritual pollution, his eyes immediately went dark, and he was nauseated to the point of physiological vomiting. The voices one after another resounded all over the world, vomiting until the sky was dark. The timid ones are scared to sleep every minute. This squirming flesh and blood. It's really scary. They can even see the activity of the flesh and blood through the broadcast screen, and it is still proliferating and growing. Witnessed with my own eyes, this indescribable piece of flesh and blood swelled. It is definitely something that makes people's sand value go crazy. Stark building hiss. Even Tony was almost caught, the corners of his eyes twitching slightly. Move the screen and silently open the distance. If it weren't for the fact that the contained item didn't look like a good thing at first glance, which made him uneasy and eager to know the first-hand information, he couldn't help but turn his seat away and not look at it. In countless people's uncomfortable mood, the screen starts to rotate again. SCP 610 Flesh of Hate. Object level. Keter. It's that horrible doomsday disaster again. Nick Fury's pupils shrank, and with a few experiences, he quickly locked on the key. Only when the second line of exposure text popped up, his vigilance was raised to the highest level. Zombie virus. Indestructible lizard. If there is no foundation to take action, once the flood continues, it will definitely be a disaster that will bring the world to the end. SCP 610 seems to be an infectious skin disease. The initial symptoms are rash, itching, and increased allergies. After 3 hours, scar, tissue-like stains appear on the chest and arm areas and spread to the whole body after 1 hour. High temperature can reduce the spread, and a complete infection can be completed within 5 minutes at the fastest. After being completely infected, the function will stop for 3 minutes. After restarting, it will become an infected body. Enter a high-speed proliferation state. After the human characteristics disappear, it will immediately mutate and become a mutant. In unknown circumstances, the infection will stop moving, enter the appropriate unknown and take root, spread to the surrounding environment and produce infection. Form an infection area. As lines of text were typed out, the images on the screen began to change into various twisted distortions. 3 legs, 3 hands, 3 eyes, all belong to the common situation. There are not a few people with flat heads, pointed heads, or even completely collapsed into a puddle of flesh and blood. It is a distorted world full of blood. No, more than a twist. Rather, the whole world was infected and went crazy. Chapter 060. Humans Assemble. Call of Duty is back. SHILD, contagious skin disease? You call this contagious skin disease? Nick Fury roared directly. Original. Seeing the first column in exposure information, he thought it was really just a skin disease and just wanted to breathe a sigh of relief. Result: the following series of words broke into the field of vision, which surprised Nick Fury. The fastest 5-minute infection. After being completely infected, the function stops for 3 minutes and then restarts to become a mutant. Flesh and flesh deformed. Wanton development. Even the ground under your feet cannot escape being infected. The appalling information made Nick Fury sweat, and his back was wet. The zombie virus that broke out before is not so terrible. Creeping flesh. Infected world. Where is this human skin disease? This is clearly based on the world, a skin disease that infects the world. Nick Fury had a horrified look in his eyes. Patients are not human at all. It's what's under their feet, the Earth. Quick, lock the frame rate of all satellites to the highest and turn on the full power. Be sure to lock the position as soon as possible. Nick Fury yelled anxiously. This is definitely the scariest contagion ever. With the order of marinated eggs conveyed, SHILD's satellite, suspended in the sky, quickly began a global search. It is obvious that it is not only the marinated egg that sees the danger of SCP-610. The distorted world on the screen has an unprecedented visual impact. Except for the Security Council, all top powers from all over the world have started to take action. Military, all satellites launched to find. Except for combat readiness satellites, all are urgently recruited. All manpower and material resources will be spared. A decisive voice sounded in the meeting room. Eagle Sauce is bad, not stupid. Before the ability to immigrate to the whole country, the Earth was their only homeland and the source of the core of hegemony. No one would be foolish enough to destroy the Great Wall by himself. Spear Bureau, regardless of his identity. Humanity must save itself. God helps those who help themselves. Zhang Xian patted the table to set the tone of the matter, and countless extraordinary forces began to mobilize. Mutant School called together the teachers and students who are still in school and try our best to find. Professor X's tone is rarely firm. After speaking, immediately closed his eyes, fully activating the super ability, using the human brain as a meat machine to spread the infection outward. Do your best. Kamar Taj, 3 locations to Holy Place are all open. Investigate as much as possible the location of the disaster. Control the sling ring. Mage who can use the portal smoothly. Dr. Strange needs you. Ancient One spoke loudly on the high platform. At your command, Sorcerer Supreme. Countless mages and apprentices responded at the same time, with indescribable excitement on their faces. Now, it's their turn, Mage, to protect the world. A monster infected with distortion. Tony frowned, and there were countless mechanical structures behind him. Then let's see who is the winner. Tony murmured softly, with infinite confidence on his face. This is the brainchild of his Tony Stark. Hey, buddy, looks like we're on it again. Everyone in the Justice League smiled at each other. Under Bruce's watchful eye, the Flash started his hard-working laps again. He who can complete the ball in a very short time is definitely the best candidate to explore the mystery. This is a rescue that knows no borders, and the object of rescue is the earth under their feet. Found it. With a sound of surprise sounded. The information is spread to all parts of the world like snowflakes, and the rare ones are not concealed and sent directly to the desks of intelligence agencies. Even on the internet, there are direct announcements. Coordinates. Aljo on the vast prairie. Fida. Orange-red's aperture keeps expanding in midair. The portal opens. Under the leadership of Dr. Strange, everyone from the Avengers Alliance came out. Here. Is it where the infection is? Thor frowned. Out of instinctive defense, he had already covered his body with thunder as the outermost layer of defense. Stay as far away as possible, Dr. Strange kindly reminded. Magic bloomed in his hands, and the 2 magic circles continued to expand, turning into protective shields, covering the team inside. Careful, a monster is coming. Barton drew his bow and knocked an arrow, and Black's carbon feather shot out. Duo, go straight to the 3 points. Pinned a deformed rabid rabbit that was trying to rush over to the ground. Dee, the miniature bomb detonated. Rumble, there were no bones left under the explosion. It seems that it can be solved easily, as if it is not a problem at all. But the people present had extremely solemn expressions. His face was even uglier than when he was facing the immortal lizard. In fact, infection beyond imagination. In a short period of time, not only the surrounding humans were infected and deformed, but even the animals and life forms on this continent could not escape this deformed infection. Even the ground under their feet seemed to have been infected by some kind of force. The scalp is immediately numb. Damn it, now is not the time to be in a daze. Captain America patted himself on the head with a serious expression. With their abnormal intrusion, it seems to have aroused the rebound of this land. Countless infected bodies cast their gazes over. Fight to the death. Inevitable. Beware of infection. After Doctor Strange left a word of advice, he began to wield the magic in his hands. Clear. Barton raised his bow and knocked his arrow. Rest assured, Black Widow drew his gun. Don't worry, I'm a son of Odin. Thor laughed boldly, and countless thunders spread on the hammer like a spider's web. Far from enough. Nick Fury looked extremely grim. He didn't relax because the Avengers alliance easily killed the mutants. Distortion, it has never been the most terrifying place for this natural disaster. The endless infection distorts the world to the point of madness, turning it into a field of flesh and blood infection. This is the real crisis. These infected bodies must be completely eliminated in the shortest possible time in order to reduce the scope of infection to a minimum. I need stronger power. Nick Fury gritted his teeth firmly and finally drew his last whole card. Now it's the most critical time, Brazen muttered to himself, as if talking through time and space. Heartbroken, he turned on the pager. Dee, amidst the crisp voice, a certain dazzling pattern lit up on the unique pager. At the same time, Fury, on a distant planet, someone suddenly raised his head. Remarks on the shelves. Brothers, it's been more than 10 days in a blink of an eye, and it's time to put on the shelves. The support of readers and friends. Here, I sincerely say thank you. Because of everyone's support, I persisted until today. If it will be released next, Xiaoyun can't guarantee anything else. There will be 20,000 words on the first day, and then there will be updates with a base of 12,000 every day. Please rest assured to follow up. The update is 100% no problem. If you have any content stories you want to see in the future, even if you leave a message in the comment area, it may not appear immediately, but you must do your best to meet the requirements of the brothers. Finally, thank you again for your support. I bought a bottle of Red Bull and went all night. Chapter 061, Surprise Team. Double Star Attitude, the power to destroy the planet. Austria. On the endless prairie, lions and beasts prostrate, and trees grow among the thick woodlands. It looks like a refreshing natural scenery, but the strange infection broke all this. Countless creatures raised their heads. Their eyes glowed scarlet, their flesh and blood distorted, and they turned into frightening appearances. And not just animals. Even humans are not immune to this infection. Even though Aozhou is vast and sparsely populated, and its population density is not comparable to that of first-tier cities, there are still not a few people who are recruited. The only thing to be thankful for is that Aozhou is large enough to set up an isolation circle. Shit, these guys are so tough. Thor swayed the thunder with an aggrieved face, and the hammer in his hand was about to smash out sparks. Rumble. Dazzling thunder flashed into the sky. The lightning that spread like a spider web smashed countless deformed monsters into slag. To some extent, still a drop in the bucket. The power of infection is really too terrifying. One group of dead will soon climb out of another group, and simply smashing them will only disperse the deformed flesh and blood, turning them into pieces of distorted creatures that grow wildly. High temperature, high fever, Completely burning the aberrations into ashes is the best method tested in various coping experiments. The electric current is converted into a high-temperature voltage, and the distortion body is directly converted into coke. This is Thor's response. B. Others don't have this means. The melee fighting technique that Black Widow is good at has extremely low lethality against these monsters, and even the firearms have little effect. All the clips are poured on it, like hitting cotton. Before restarting, these mutants are already dead. 173. Be careful. Captain America threw the vibranium shield over to help Black Widow block the attack. These aberrants are all difficult characters. Not to mention being touched, even getting close to them, may cause skin infection and become deformed flesh and blood. During the battle, you must put on an insulating battle suit. Quickly retreat. Doctor Strange threw 2 balls of magic from behind. The diffuse magic circle intertwined, and sparks burst out, directly carbonizing the deformed bodies of the 2 wolves. On the vast plain, it can be called murderous opportunity everywhere. Northern Austria whoosh. Superman in his underpants flies in midair. The heat line of sight is lasered from the eyes, and the aurora, transformed by the solar energy, carries a high temperature of tens of thousands of degrees. Iron and steel can be dissolved into juice, not to mention these distortions. Carbonized into ash in minutes. Thank you very much. Superman strafed the audience in the sky, and Bruce also wore a battle suit without a break. Various energy storage cannons blasted out, knocking the aberrants into the air, and at the same time, he did not forget to thank Mage, who opened the portal and sent them over. Everything is guided by the Sorcerer Supreme. Swirl your fingers with the sling ring. Wong shook his head, and instead of taking credit, he dodged into the portal. Later, there are many reinforcements waiting for them to move. Today, portals are under a lot of pressure. Somewhere in Australia, taste the storm. The Storm Girl turned her super ability, setting off a storm of natural disasters. Cooperate with the Cyclops next to it to take a large number of heads. Mutants rushed out of the portal opened behind him. How to deal with this kind of monster? The sharp weapon cuts more and more. It can't be killed at all. Can't even Avengers stand up? It's too exaggerated. It's more than that. I've seen the Justice League in the northern part of Austria. Superman's laser eyes are so strong. Superman? Camartage Mage is also cool. Any door is awesome. There are also X-Men. Mutants' super abilities are the worst. So many superheroes are dispatched, but they can't deal with these monsters. I'm going. This thing is too scary. The internet exploded in an instant, and the barrage became a mess. I learned that countless superheroes have sincerely cooperated. The atmosphere was rising, and I thought it would be an unprecedented victory for mankind. Result: the painful reality of Aozhou gave everyone a blow in the face. The Justice League and the Avengers, one from the south and the other from the north, separated the battlefield, and other extraordinary forces also formed encirclement circles one after another to isolate the infected area. But is the distance to control the situation? It's 1,000 miles away. The monsters that are constantly deforming inside cannot be dealt with at all, except for the power of the flame system, which can effectively kill them. Other forces will only make the spread of the deformed body even more terrifying after being divided and smashed. Difficult. Unbelievably tough. Military: how is the flamethrower working? The general had a sullen face. Common bullets, bombs, and even shock missiles have extremely low lethality against these aberrations. Only high-intensity flames have proven effective. The first batch of armed forces has been successfully escorted to the front line, but the young Major General hesitated. There are too few people who can use this batch of equipment. In an infected area, the spread of infection is too terrifying. You must be fully armed and wear insulating clothing to enter. Moreover, with the resistance of the common people, they would have to withdraw within 10 minutes at most. This is the figure that countless soldiers have practiced with their lives after being infected with the riots. Only superhero, depending on the constitution, can resist for a longer period of time, but it also needs to be rotated. Enough flamethrowers. On the contrary, there are too few people who can use it. Damn it. The army general's face was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with cold eyes. Conventional weapons are not enough, so we can only use cloud bombs, thermobaric bombs, or even nuclear weapons. SHIELD nuclear weapons? Absolutely not. Nick Fury flatly rejected the Council's proposal. Who knows if those deformed monsters will form an even weirder state after encountering nuclear radiation. Holographic panel projection on. The torrent of data is pouring down, and the above is the distortion stage of the infected body. In a short period of time, it has been iterated thousands of times. Distortion? In a way, this is evolution. It's just not human evolution. Who knows whether this distortion will be distorted to an uncontrollable level after the nuclear weapons are thrown and the nuclear radiation is introduced. As far as the current level of horror that SCP-610 can even infect the land. Who dares to bet? Nobody. The risk is too great. Nick Fury scowled. He is not a risk-taking gambler character, especially when it comes to the future of the planet. But, Fury, we have no choice. Opposite is the holographic projection of the Security Council. They are all representatives of the top powers, and when they reach a consensus, they can even distort the direction of the entire planet. The representative of Eagle Sauce waved his hand. The virtual map is expanded, and above it is the map of Aojo, which is red everywhere. The core is the high-risk distortion area, and the large blue area on the edge represents the infected area. Swept by the red distortion zone, the infection zone representing blue is constantly expanding. We must control the scope and must not let it spread any further. Currently, we haven't found any way to restore the land to normal. If we don't stop its development, the whole Earth will become its pasture. It doesn't take much, just erode half of the land. Earth is about to usher in an unimaginable end. Infected area. It is full of infection factors. If you don't grow food, you can't survive. The cold voice pointed directly at the core. The destruction of the distortion zone by superhero alone cannot keep up with the speed of SCP-610 spread. You could try cloud bombs and thermobaric bombs first. Nick Fury did his best to save. Enough. Fury, we don't have time. The hooked-nosed man interrupted directly, not to mention the difficulty of long-range delivery of cloud bombs, thermobaric bombs, and the explosive equivalent required to destroy the distortion zone at one time. The time lost alone is not a star and a half. If it fails this time, reorganizing the second nuclear bomb launch, the time and cost in the middle, is not just as simple as raising lip service. We are not qualified to gamble on the future of the Earth. We have no chance to gamble. The representative of the Eagle Sauce recipe, the Undo method. Nick Fury was so angry that his liver hurt. They slapped the table angrily, but it was of no avail when the top powers stood in the same camp and their forces were twisted into a thread. For their orders. On this blue planet, the common organization has no right to refuse. SHIELD. Also the same. The remote meeting of the Security Council is not a discussion at all, but a notification. Mommy FK. Bray's Dan hit the table with a fist, and his face became even darker. Fury, it seems you need help. Just when Ludden was in a desperate situation and clenched his fists tightly, a joking voice suddenly rang out from his ears. Who are you? This is a confidential meeting. Please leave quickly. The Security Council is top secret. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Who are you? Are you deliberately provoking our Earth Federation? The unidentified people who broke in suddenly surprised the representatives of various countries. The stern questioning sounded in the empty conference room with a serious tone. Nick Fury turned his head uncharacteristically. There was an overjoyed surprise on his face, as if he had found a savior in a desperate situation. Team leader, you're back. The alternate red and blue battle suit and the familiar face instantly awakened Nick Fury's memory. Tisk, it seems that you are in a mess. Team Jing smacked his lips with a smile on the corner of his mouth. No matter what, reunion after a long absence is always a happy thing. ST, your beard seems a little too much. Cough. Now shouldn't be the time to care about these things. The shocking team paid attention to it strangely, making Nick Fury almost tense and coughing several times. Tisk, what is the source of this crisis? Team Shock pouted nonchalantly, looking up on his own. Look at the screen in the sky. Foundation. The place where the exposure picture appears is not only the Earth, but even the nearby star field where she is located. SCP 610 Abominable Flesh. Looking at half of Australasia, which has been corrupted and turned into a hotbed of distorted creatures, Team Shock couldn't help but frown. Is it to get rid of those distorted monsters? Nick Fury nodded. That's right. It's about getting rid of them and curbing the speed of Aojo's infection. Can it be done? Looking expectantly at Team Shock for fear of hearing bad news from her. This is the last whole card in his hand. It is also the strongest force he has ever known. I'm Captain Marvel. The Shock team responded to Nick Fury's question with a confident laugh. Who the hell is she, Fury? I think we need an explanation. While Team Shock was chatting with Brazedan, during the video conversation, the heads of the Security Council finally couldn't sit still. They are all powerful figures who can bear being ignored for no reason. Explain. I'm one of the Avengers. Is that enough explanation? The shocking team didn't give face at all and just rushed over. Drop a nuke. If you want to do it, then do it. I will solve everything before the time is up. Team Jing's confident voice sounded, with unquestionable confidence. With a super perception, she learned what these high-level officials were talking about long before rushing to Fury's side. The voice just fell. Don't wait for those higher-ups to speak. Call out. Turning into a streamer, she disappeared directly in place, heading towards the polluted area on Aojo at a speed that the naked eye can't catch. Her battlefield has never been a verbal debate, but a killing of iron and blood. Sorry, I can't control her either. Nick Fury loosened his shoulders, pretending to be helpless, but there was a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. Team leader, her temper really hasn't changed at 5.5. Austria. Distortion Zone Defense Line. The director said that there will be strong reinforcements coming soon. Barton shoots a carbon arrow. The communication from the headset brought joy to his face. There are other powers that Braised Egg hides from us. Black Widow turned his head and said what was in his heart without paying attention. Braised eggs? It's very appropriate. Dr. Strange came over. He was also interested in reinforcements. If there is no support, I really can't hold on. There are more and more deformed creatures, overwhelming. Who can resist this? Magic is not omnipotent. Who will it be? Hey dude, I think I know who that strong support is. Weighing Mjolnir, Thor suddenly raised his head before he could catch his breath. There were terrifying fluctuations in the sky. The dazzling aurora runs through the sky, and a figure can be vaguely seen in the glow. So strong. Even Thor, who thinks highly of himself, can't help feeling afraid of this power. Fury actually knows this kind of powerhouse. Black Widow blinked, feeling that he was about to get to know the braised eggs again, in the surprised eyes of several people. Soon ushered in the solo show of Team Shock. Double Star. The most sublimated posture burst out on the Jing team, opened the limiter, and completely unlocked the power in the body. In the Double Star posture, Team Jing's body is like an energy retractor. It is constantly absorbing energy from the outside world at all times, and transforming these energies into its own strength, speed, defense, and other abilities. Released outwards, the energy to the extreme is extremely concentrated and even forms coat. In this extreme posture, she can even destroy the planet. Chapter 062, Tony, New Era, Mechanical Age. Call out. Bright lights intertwined on her body. Like a meteor, it rampages on the battlefield, rubbing the air with extreme power and speed, causing unimaginable high temperature and high pressure, and causing tons of damage to these deformed creatures. As long as you touch it, it will instantly ignite a 1,000-degree flame and burn to ashes. Even the center of the distortion zone. Those powerful large aberrations are no exception. FK. So strong. Is this the strongest hero of the Avengers Alliance? Yes. My God, can humans do this? Are you on the hook? Too strong. Great. Finally saved. These damned monsters Go to hell for me. Watching the live broadcast on the battlefield, everyone on the internet instantly boiled. It's not the Protoss, nor is it an unknown force showing up. The ones who saved them this time were veritable Earthlings. Redemption of human self. Don't be too happy too early. Although the large mutants have been killed, those infected creatures are also difficult to deal with. If they are not resolved in time, it won't be long before they gather into this kind of catastrophe, right? Some sober people poured a basin of cold water. But soon, before the atmosphere became sluggish, the crowded network instantly erupted into a bigger heat wave than before. Tony Stark, Iron Man, he appeared. Were those in the back? My God, I must have read it wrong, right? The barrage of waves is higher than the waves, like the waves of the waves in the storm. Click. It's like the gears of Invisible are clicking. Last round. It's finally here. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Aurora incarnation of the shocking team shuttled across the vast grassland. The power of the twin stars is in full bloom. The terrifying power is enough to plow the ground, and the instant damage effect of the nuclear bomb is just a younger brother in front of this. The extreme high temperature and high pressure directly wiped out those distortion bodies in the distortion zone. Call out. Flickering like a shooting star, the brilliance gradually receded, finally revealing the bold and unrestrained figure inside. He shook his head. The unruly short hair is swaying freely. Behind him is the distorted area that has been flattened, and the powerful aura is undoubtedly revealed. 06, it seems, or am I faster? The startling team pressed the headset, and the provocative voice came back. Clap, clap, a merciless slap in the face. This is her character. FFLX. Is this the end of the disaster? Barton looked up, overjoyed. It's hard to imagine that when the containment comes, there is still such an easy time to solve it. No. Team Shock shook his head honestly. I just got rid of the mutated aberrations. The infection on the Earth is still there. Those substances that are beyond common sense seem to have been integrated into the ground. Even if they are burned with high-level flames, they still have no effect. Even she has nothing to do with such things beyond cognition. B. Directly crush this piece of continent. But the impact is too great. Moreover, even if it is completely penetrated and smashed, Team Shock is not sure whether it can eliminate the infection meme that has penetrated into the soil. If it is not erased, but also spread outward, it will be troublesome. The source of infection in inorganic matter is still. It must be paid regularly. If left unattended, it is easy to cause this kind of natural disaster again. Team Shock speaks the truth. Clear? Clear. Barton frowned. It's really not that difficult to simply eliminate these infected bodies. The combat power is comparable to that of a superhero, and all the difficult mutants have been wiped out by the shocking team. The rest are infected bodies, and their combat effectiveness is mediocre. A well-trained soldier can easily solve it with a flamethrower. High-temperature flames are the natural enemies of these things. But the constitution of the soldiers, in the epidemic area where the pollution sources are everywhere, there is no way to last long. Although the infection time varies from 1 to 5 hours, the fastest individual will end in a few minutes. But dare not gamble. 10 minutes. Already the safe limit. There is no way to go deep into the periphery, let alone the central core area. Can we just let the superhero handle it all the time? Captain America frowned. It's not impossible. Bah, there's not enough manpower in such a huge infected area. Even if they were all thrown into it, it would be a drop in the bucket, and the clearing operation was a bottomless pit which needed to be carried out continuously, not a matter of a day or two. Captain America's brows were frowned into a Sichuan character, and the furrows became tighter and tighter. My friend, what are you worrying about? An angry voice sounded on the internal channel. Next, the sound of the roar of the mech came from a ear. Different from the chaotic sound of helicopter propellers breaking up the clouds, this sound is more inclined to the vibration of the engine. Tony, Iron Man, a voice of surprise sounded, and a familiar figure appeared. But it doesn't seem so familiar. What are those behind you? Black Widow's eyes widened, a bit unable to react. It's not just Iron Man riding the Mark armor that falls from the sky and follow behind him. There's a lot of black. Countless machines that look like models. The vast expanse even covered the sun in the sky and cast a shadow on the ground. No wonder the roar was so loud just now. I'm almost catching up with the helicopter group, and the emotions come from the same frequency resonance. Ultron 1, my new autonomous battle suit. Tony said confidently. Don't tell me. You have been holding back for so long, and you said that you're going to make a big move? Is this all? Barton's expression froze. Big move? It's too big a move. Definitely. Tony raised his head arrogantly. Now is not the time for small talk. Let's get rid of these damn monsters first. Tony turned into Iron Man, flew straight into the sky, and the battle suit turned on the attack mode. With fire, common shells are not effective against those monsters. Knee-high temperature. Captain America only had time to shout. Rest assured, I know. Tony's confident voice came from the sky. He is not idle. Although he did not appear on the battlefield, the live broadcast on the screen never stopped. He knows everything he should know. Boom. The right hand is raised falsely. A compressed palm cannon blasted out. The pure energy bombardment, with extremely high temperature, carbonized an infected body into slag. With Tony's strong shot, it's like touching some organ order. The countless battle suits that were originally suspended behind him suddenly soared into the air. Raise your hands flat, continuously pouring out laser strafing. It seems that there is a higher dimensional command arrangement, all of which form a team in an orderly manner and move towards the infected area continuously, laser crossfire. And the infected bodies are constantly destroyed and wiped out radar, spotting the enemy. Laser annihilation. The efficiency beyond imagination is jaw-dropping. Hey, dude, what's that? Superman, who swept across the field with his thermal vision in midair, met a battle suit who also flew into the sky and fought cross battles. He was a little surprised by the crisp killing speed. Has the military already developed such a powerful weapon? Superman blinked. Some unexpected. No. Bruce shook his head. That's a friend of mine. Friend you've met too. A faint smile appeared on Bruce's stern face. Professor, look! Kin-Nu exclaimed and pointed to the sky. Mecha, the cutting-edge technology of the military. Professor X frowned. The strategy of coexistence of common people and mutants has been strengthened. Except, has he started to? Wong raised his eyebrows. He definitely knew Tony's battle suit, and he was responsible for the transshipment work. Maintaining a portal for such a long time is not something common mage can do. On the vast battlefield, countless superheroes raise their heads together. A mecha battlesuit that crosses the sky. The stimulation brought to them is definitely not small, which represents the power of technology, especially the speed at which the opponent destroys the infected body. It is so efficient. Aren't mechas something from science fiction? Someone actually researched it? Southern Australia, the location of the Avengers alliance. Barton looked at the sky and blinked. Big doubts filled the small eyes. Battle suit? You call this an autonomous battle suit? Barton felt his IQ was insulted. Even if he doesn't understand mechanics and doesn't have a deep understanding of these things, you can't ignore Hiroto like this. What autonomous battle suit? This is clearly a free-moving mecha. Individual combat power may not be comparable to the Mark battle suit on Iron Man, but the combined effect is beyond imagination. A proper black technology. Crush the current technological level of the Earth, even decades ahead of existence. This is the new era. Mechanical era. If humans can't protect the world, then let the army I built with my own hands maintain peace. Tony spoke loudly through the radio. Under him, countless Ultron. One are fighting in the infected area. Sultry flames spewed out from the hands of the mech, apparently Tony's improvised vehicle. Human beings have flaws, but the machine doesn't. During the attack of the mechs, the infected bodies continued to fall, and the speed of the expansion of the infected area was gradually curbed. Drop. The infected area has been spreading outward. After the cleaning of countless Ultron, one mechas, there were signs of stopping expansion for the first time, as if being grasped by Invisible's big hand. The spreading pace was abruptly stopped. The blue cursor representing the infected area remained static. The natural disaster, which had been uncontrollable, was suppressed after all the mecha troops were dispatched. The armor engine roared. It seemed to confirm Tony's self-confidence. New era. Automata. Military boom. He slammed his fist on the table angrily. The thick wooden table was beaten so hard that sawdust flew everywhere. What is he trying to do? Mechanical age? Build an army? Keep peace with your own hands. The general's eyes widened. Heavy breathing, as if gushing with heat waves. Use flawless machines to maintain peace and defend the earth at all times. This kind of word sounds very good. For common people, it is the dream of safety. But for those in power, absolutely unbearable bottom line. Tony Stark, Nick Fury. The army general slammed his clenched fists on the table. His cold eyes seemed to be bleeding blood. SHILD, Tony, you really caused me a lot of trouble. The corners of Nick Fury's mouth twitched 247 straight. But I can't say I care too much. The powerful potential contained in Ultron, one is enough to impress him. He definitely knew that this terrifying power might offend the nervous nerves of those high-level officials. Nick Fury is clearly not a conformist character. If you are angry, you will be angry. The rotten epidemic area in Australia obviously needs to be solved by the mechanical troops in Tony's hands, and they dare not tear their faces at all. The debates on the table are all thousand-year-old foxes. Who is afraid of whom? But the land. Nick Fury frowned. Compared with internal fighting, he cares more about the land of Aozhou. The current situation of corruption seems to be under control. As long as the mechanical troops are kept clearing and disinfecting the mechs on a regular basis to avoid infection in the epidemic area, the two-pronged approach could have stayed safe. But that's a lot of land. If all the epidemic areas are sealed off and outsiders are prohibited from approaching, the loss will be too great. Do you want to give up? Nick Fury had a look of unwillingness on his face. But the terrifying contagion in the epidemic area made him fearful. The source of infection that the shocking team can't smash, he definitely can't handle it either. It is their best effort to compress it within a controllable range and prevent the infection of SCP-610 from leaking out. SCP-610? Nick Fury frowned, forming a Sichuan character. Really? Every containment is a horror beyond imagination. Is it over? So many people died. This is definitely the biggest disaster ever. Condolences to the compatriots who lost their lives in Ozu. Light Candle JPG. Repeated formations roared across the network. The chaotic barrage is rare and neat. Because of this natural disaster, all the major video websites hung up white cloth decorations. Everything related to entertainment has become a black and white version. All kinds of front-page headlines are reports of the tragedy in Aozhou, and the sad atmosphere spreads in the world. It's like mourning for the compatriots who lost their lives in the disaster. In the gloomy atmosphere, even laughter seems to be a mistake in this depressing atmosphere. A special barrage suddenly flashed across a series of candle expressions. Has no one noticed the Foundation? Such a terrifying anomaly. With the Foundation style, it shouldn't be possible to turn a blind eye to it, right? Are they? Are they really sitting idly by this time? One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. Foundation. They still have a foundation. Seeing that this natural disaster is about to end, but the Foundation has not yet appeared, isn't there a turning point? Can the broken world be restored? Countless people looked at the map of Aozhou and couldn't help but feel hopeful in their hearts. Chapter 063. The Mechanic Goddess. The world has been restarted countless times. We contain, we control, we protect. The Foundation's proclamation still rings in my ears. Their consistent style is also proving this to everyone, regardless of the timely suppression of SCP-173. It is also a special containment procedure for SCP-682, or sacrifice D-Class members to take SCP-096 away. Even the most recent one, the mystical spear that runs through the virtual, the incomparably skilled actions, as if they have experienced countless drills, The well-trained staff are not like a grassroots team at all. But with the Foundation's previous style, they are facing this kind of catastrophe that can be called the Doomsday. Doesn't seem like the type to sit back and watch. The Foundation, they're going to make a move, right? Take a shot? So what if you shoot? Aozhou is completely corrupted. So many people died. Why? With the words of frustration appearing in the barrage. In the floors below, countless repeated sighs were soon left. That's right. People, all dead. The spread of the epidemic area covered almost half of Austria. In the infected area, there are almost no living people. All of them are infected by SCP-610. In order to prevent the spread of the epidemic area, they were basically completely annihilated by the mecha team and the superhero inside, and burned to ashes at high temperature. Not even slag was left, let alone survived. The casualties were heavy, comparable to a world war. This is also the reason for the global silence. All the corpses could not be found, and all of them were burned to ashes at high temperature. What can be done in this state? Can the dead be reborn again? SHILD Foundation. Nick Fury frowned, with a look of anticipation in his eyes. The dead may not be brought back to life. But if the Foundation can make a move, the corrupt world of Aozhou is likely to be brought under control. Don't say anything else. If only the soil contaminated by SCP-610 could be restored to normal. It is also a great thing for them, under the premise that interstellar immigration cannot be realized on a large scale, and the Earth is still the only home. The loss of every piece of land is an inseparable pain for them. It's a pity for those innocent people who lost their lives in the natural disaster. Nick Fury's eyes darkened, and there was a sad sadness in his one eye, although known as the King of Agents. But he is obviously not a cold-blooded and ruthless killer, and he can sit so many people dead and remain indifferent. If he is really that kind of person, he will not take protecting the Earth as his duty. Aozhou. Nick Fury stared at a darkened spot on the hologram. 2/3 are classified as epidemic areas. It's horribly horrifying. Now, let's see if the Foundation can take action to save it. Kamartaj, can they solve these infections? Wong stood next to Ancient One, looking at the screen with a solemn expression. Have no idea. Ancient One shook his head. What? You don't know about Sorcerer Supreme? Wong was shocked. Controlling the eye of Agamotto, there shouldn't be anything that can hide her from her. Ancient One smiled and said nonchalantly, in this world, there will always be unknowns. Foundation, I can't see through. Ancient One did not pretend to be mysterious, but spoke frankly. Teat B, really can't see through. There are simply too many horrific existences associated with the Foundation, confident in preventing the invasion of Dormammu. But for the existence of the Foundation, Ancient One is infinitely afraid. Fortunately, they have goodwill towards humans. Asgard, do you take action to solve the infection in that land? Odin raised his head and looked at the broadcast screen on the sky. The originally vibrant Aozhou Prairie has now become a desolate Jedi, full of sources of infection. If it hadn't been for the mechas patrolling inside, it would have become a distortion and rushed out to infect it. Even he couldn't help frowning because of the evil power filled with it. How will they solve it? Odin had to admit that he was helpless against this infection. Not only him, but even his wife, who was good at magic, was also powerless to fight. If it broke out in Asgard, he couldn't think of a way to deal with it at all. As the name of the Foundation was raised, countless people are full of expectations, curious about how the Foundation will respond. It is treated silently. Still try to save it. If so, by what means? Expectation? What is there to look forward to? Isn't it just to contain SCP-610? Otherwise, it can restore Aozhou to its original appearance. If it is broken, it is broken. So what is there to look forward to? In much anticipation, there were always some discordant voices, but they were quickly sprayed down by the surge of enthusiasm. Although the sound disappeared, the lump remained. Yes. What's the point? A dead person cannot come back to life. It is impossible to rebuild the eroded wasteland. Aozhou, which was completely turned into ruins, was devastated by various forces. It is no less than a world war. It is comparable to the doomsday scene after the nuclear bomb was dropped. Even if the pollution of SCP-610 is pulled out, It is no longer what it looks like in memory. The reconstruction that cost countless costs is another lifetime series. The turbulent atmosphere suddenly became sluggish. The inexplicable atmosphere is spreading in the world, especially the fastest spreading on the internet. And the foundation that has been talked about by countless people. That is Lin Xiu. What is he doing? He is concentrating on the system panel, the numbers that keep increasing. He stared at the screen for a moment. Lin Xiu didn't blink his eyes intently, constantly counting the increased exposure value. There are still vacant numbers. Concentrate on. It's not that Lin Xiu didn't want to make a move, but the exposure value he needs is far from enough. We can only let the Avengers and superheroes play the outpost first to help him delay time. After the exposure value continues to increase with the spread of SCP-610 and reaches the target, that is the time for him to make a move. Anyway, no matter how corrupt the situation is this time, as long as the Earth doesn't collapse, he can easily restore it. This is Lin Xiu's confidence. It is also confidence in the power of the Foundation. Done. With the surprise opening, Lin Xiu finally came to an end from waiting. Now, it's time for me to perform. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly, and there was a slight smile on the corner of his mouth, overflowing with confidence, as if he was in control of everything. Exchange, mechanical descendant. Lin Xiu quickly opened the Thaumiel meme and found it, the target he had locked on for a long time. Reach out. Determine directly. Click. Crack. Crack. It seems that there's an invisible mechanical sound resounding from the void. On the panel that only Lin Xiu can see, the cold words shone with nameless brilliance, as if blooming with a transcendent calendar. SCP 2000 Mechanical Avatar Object Class. Thaumiel, one of the last cards of the Foundation Rebirth Jedi. He has countless cumbersome descriptions and explanations, but if you want to briefly describe the core effect, that's reset everything. Or world reboot. What is that? Something new has suddenly appeared. Could it be that the Foundation took action? This so fast? Why is there no sign at all? Did the Foundation act secretly this time? There are no D-class members. Wow, what is this thing? It looks so big. How did it move to the underground of Aozhou? It's too exaggerated. That's the Foundation. It would be strange if they couldn't do it, regardless of the atmosphere on the internet. But the appearance of the suspected Foundation's handwriting obviously still attracted the attention of countless people. The screen broadcast on the sky screen. Suddenly, it changed from focusing on the ruins on the plain to an environment in an underground space. Huge machines are displayed in caves. Surrounding it, at intervals of about 20 meters, there is a Scranton reality anchors arranged in a hexagonal shape. The anchors surround it in a circle, spreading out invisible fluctuations. All the superheroes who were still on Aozhou were ejected by the anchors. Huge surface. All life forms disappeared. Only the swarming inorganic bodies remain. My mecha station team can't get in touch. Tony frowned. Not only was he himself ejected, but even the communication with the mech was cut off. Aozhou, which is clearly in front of us, seems to be a world away. You can only see the changes inside from the picture in the exposure video. Mecha? You finally admit that it's a mecha. The corners of Barton's mouth twitched slightly. But at this time, obviously no one cares about these trivial details. Just now, the non-infected bodies staying in Aozhou and all the normal life forms were all ejected by an indescribable and irresistible force, like the rejection from the world, isolating them from the outside. Is Austria close at hand? It has become an independent world, the unattainable kind. Everyone couldn't help looking up at the screen, trying to find out the reason. Foundation, what the hell are you trying to do? The same doubts arise in the hearts of countless people. Turn on, almost at the same time as Lin Xiu was chanting silently. At the same time, different dimensions. The huge machine in silence finally started to run. The main energy source of the equipment is the liquid thorium fluoride reactor, with a rated total output of 1 gigawatt, which is enough to crush most machinery. The geothermal energy generator is located in the middle and lower part of the facility, absorbing the energy of the volcano from the void. The real core of operation is the bright/Zarshan human replicator. With a terrifying quantity of 500,000 units, 100,000 non-abnormal human beings can be produced in one day, and they can be cultivated to maturity in 5 days. Next, it's time to witness the miracle. Is that a cloning machine? Is this how D-class personnel are bred? No, their faces seem to be different. Will the cultivation speed be too fast? The time in there is wrong. It's too fast. Is it too much? Under the careful observation of countless people, everyone has piercing eyes. The center of gravity of the picture was quickly extracted. The screen of this broadcast, it's not playing synchronously. It's more like a daily frame jump. The previous screen is still cultivating humans. In the next picture, it becomes the cultivated human beings gathered together into a group like an organized army and began to build in full swing on the land of Aozhou. The source of infection in the soil does not know when it will disappear. But nobody paid any attention to this at all. Everyone was staring at the broadcast screen. As more and more human beings are cultivated, the familiar faces are getting bigger and bigger. There are celebrities, politicians, military leaders, and many people who travel abroad. In the crowd, I saw my relatives. Soon, with the growth of Austria's population, the speed of population dispersion and civilization reconstruction has accelerated exponentially, and the economy, agriculture, and facilities have also rapidly recovered. It overlaps with the screen in front of you. This. Countless people were shocked and speechless. Especially, what happened next made the feeling of not being able to speak out in my mind even stronger. Good Zhao Zhao. Massive human resources, concentrated on the falsification of dendrochronological, astronomical, and radioactive dating records, maintain the continuity of history as if the previous destruction had not have happened. Soon, the exact same Aozhou appeared in front of my eyes. Everyone was shocked and speechless. The unspeakable shock was completely pushed to a climax in the next scene. Amnestic Potion ENUI. 5 released in full. Erase all regenerated human beings and the memory between the Foundation. Then, time continues to advance according to the same day as the outside world. MB. Nothing happened. There has never been an SCP-610 related apocalypse. Countless people couldn't help but gasp. Looking at the scene in front of him, Song felt an indescribable horror. Shocked, I don't even know when the film separating the two places disappeared. Could it be? This is how the Foundation saves the world. Oh my God, isn't this too far off the mark? Rebooting the world on a scientific level. They actually have this kind of technology? Is this still human? This is simply a god in science. We no longer have to be afraid of the contained objects. The Foundation can restart the world at any time. Come once. Restart? This kind of imaginary memory implantation. Is it still me who wakes up? The questioning of the soul was issued, pouring a pot of cold water into the excited hearts of netizens. Numerous people have sympathy and fall into philosophical reflection. Just at the moment, the barrage flashed faintly again. Who said, "The world only restarts once"? World suddenly fell into a deeper silence. Can you be sure? Are we really ourselves? Chapter 064. Discovery of the Supreme Mage. The insider truth of the Foundation. Boom. The appearance of 2 consecutive barges. It's like dropping 2 nuclear bombs on the surface of a calm sea. And it's the most powerful one. World, did it really only restart once? The restart of the world this time is because the location is limited to Aozhou. Moreover, what happened inside was exposed by the exposure video at the same time, and they witnessed it with their own eyes. So they discovered this matter, but what if there is no exposure video? Even if it's restarted, we can't possibly know, right? There are bullet screens across the internet. It quickly aroused the approval of countless people. Yes, even if it is restarted, it is impossible to know. The Foundation's methods are really beyond imagination. First, isolate the 2 worlds, the inside and outside, and then use epoch-making black technology to cultivate a population of starfish, and then start infrastructure development. After forming an era that is exactly the same as in the memory will be cleaned at the end, and a brand new memory will be implanted. If the process hadn't been exposed, even if someone told them personally, it would only be regarded as a fairy tale. You are lucky if you don't end up in a mental hospital. Horrible. Countless people looked at the screen in awe. Move your fingers and play with the times and the applause. This terrifying power and impact, to most people, is more terrifying than going back in time and space. Time. It can also be explained with a mysterious side. The ignorant are fearless. They don't understand these things, and they don't feel deeply at all. But the reset of the Foundation put everything on the bright side, using the seemingly understandable, but in fact beyond countless times, horror technology, which gave everyone a blow in the head, and an indescribable sense of horror welled up in their hearts. This simply a god, sitting slumped on a chair, looking at the internet that is close at hand. The keyboard warriors feel dull. Easily weave people's memory. Modify the true and false of the world. Reset. What could be more frightening than being unsure if it's you? One time, the appointment of a psychiatrist was pushed to a peak by the popularity. In the hospital, the departments that were originally deserted directly became the most popular places. SHILD Fury. Do you think it's possible? Team Shock frowned. Even her. Faced with this kind of philosophical thinking that you are not you, you will also feel a loss. Possible. Nick Fury had a sullen 340 face. Obscure eyes fell on the related discussion of the world has restarted more than once. He pondered for a long time. He finally looked up and looked at the screen again. It does not matter. The voice was a little cold but firm. Not important. Team Jing frowned. Nick Fury nodded. Yes, it doesn't matter. No matter whether the world has been reset or not, and no matter how many times it has been reset, all we have to do is to protect the Earth and human beings. And this is enough. No matter what the world is like, we just stick to our own way. Clang sound. With unquestionable firmness. Ooh, I didn't expect Fury to say such a thing. It seems that you have changed a lot during my absence. Team Shock quickly recovered from their confusion. He raised his eyebrows and showed an inexplicable smile towards Fury. Time seemed to go back to the past. Cough, cough. I just installed a hard-boiled egg. Feeling the playful gaze from the side, he couldn't help touching the blindfold. Black history, oh black history. Reset time. Are we also part of the memory implant? The Army general scanned the audience with a horrified expression. Any high-ranking person cannot accept his own life, which is actually just a script of others. A communication device built into the military. Leaders of major countries in Austria have been connected. Other side, in video projection, cheerfully greeted them. Admiral James, hello. The familiar appearance and reserved smile are exactly the same as the attitude and memory. Just like nothing happened, this was the leader they knew. But this is obviously implanted by cloning. Ozu has been destroyed once. The young Major General could no longer control the fear in his heart. He stretched out his hand tremblingly and yelled out in horror. Just now, in the exposed video, he rebuilt the leader Australia and founded the country on the ruins with his own hands. Now, no nothing. Clone. Destroy. The Australian leader looked a little stiff. What happened to the Major General of Ingjiang? Agf. He said such nonsense when we met. Did something happen that I don't know about? The 50 or 60-year-old leader had a strange look on his face. Field. The eerie atmosphere intensified. Spear Bureau. Are you sure that your fellow Austrians are safe? Zheng Xian knocked on the table. Yes, the evacuation operation is underway and everything is under control. The Weather Witch nodded. And Zheng Xian nodded in satisfaction. The progress of the operation was displayed in real time on the holographic projection. All indicators were within the controllable range, and it was proceeding in an orderly manner. Compared with other countries, it was several dimensions higher. He opened his mouth, and when he was about to leave, Zheng Xian finally couldn't hold back his mouth. Those compatriots who evacuated overseas Chinese, how do you feel? Did their family members find anything wrong during the communication process? Zheng Xian's dignified eyes carried complicated emotions. No, The weather, which took a deep breath and then slowly shook her head. The indicators in all aspects are exactly the same, and there is no difference from the common people. Regarding the SCP-610 disaster and restart, they seem to have no memory of this aspect at all. As for relatives, there are some irrelevant reports, but they have all been falsified. It's just their psychological effects, and harmony will be restored after a short period of time. They even have ulterior motives and cannot be trusted as a reference. Nothing has been proven wrong. The dignified voice trembled a little. Even your relatives can't find the abnormality. Zhang Xian lowered his head, his expression a little unpredictable. Mutant Academy, the mutants sent back by the mages through the portal. Looking at Professor X in front of him, his expression was a little depressed. Obviously, those speculations and the accidents in Austria caused huge amounts of blows to them. The arrogance that used to be aloof and look down on the common people was completely shattered. It's a bit of a downward break, and even my confidence has been shattered. If the Foundation can really restart it, it means that the other party is in control, deploying super ability power at will. And for mutants, it will undoubtedly shatter their last pride. Don't be discouraged. It's not confirmed yet. Don't be affected by rumors. Professor X whispered softly. When I open my mouth, I also use psychokinesis to appease. These little party dishes in the academy definitely couldn't stand it. It fell in minutes. Kin. Professor X turned around and stared at Kinnu for a moment, but quickly retracted his gaze. B. Can it be replicated too? Professor X shook his head in his heart. This abnormality hidden deep in his heart is also the reason why he believes that he is still himself. At least, the piano girl should be. Kamar Taj, Sorcerer Supreme? This. Wang looked at Ancient One in horror. They are not old-fashioned and old-fashioned. There are also technological products in the Holy Land. Ancient One personally asked someone to pull the network cable, and they can definitely see the comments online. Our world. Countless reboots. The hot search of Piaohong Jiajing is at the top, and the number of people discussing it is countless. Maybe Ancient One shook his head. Perhaps. But you're not in control of Agamotto. Wang's expression was even more shocked. The future is not our toy. Ancient One shook his head, looking at the screen with deep eyes and exposing the pictures in the video. The impact on her is undoubtedly huge amounts of, in a flash. Can't help but think of the very beginning. With Eye of Agamotto, the horror observed. Countless rivers of time have been shattered, and all kinds of future directions are all unified. Could it be? This is it. Ancient One was shocked. She might know why there is only one kind of future. The future that is not conducive to the world is all erased by their restart. There is only one kind left, which represents the safe future of the world. In a trance, Ancient One seemed to see a phantom holding a spear, standing indifferently on the long river of time, locked in infection, broken, filthy, towards the future of destruction, shattered with one shot. The cold spear pierces through everything, resisting desperately before the destruction, crushing all approaching dangerous auras, just like she resisted the invasion of other dimensions. But the method was 1,000,000 times more ferocious. We protect humans, whether humans want to or not. Is this the philosophy of the Foundation? Ancient One looked at the sky solemnly, and the rotating concentric rings were pierced by 3 arrows. We control, we contain, we protect. I might know the inside story of the Foundation, why they keep showing up as clones. Ancient One sighed faintly. There is a sad look in the deep pupils. What? Sorcerer Supreme, have you discovered it? Have you seen through their reality? Wang's pupils shrank. The whole was shocked to the point of not wanting it. Foundation. This is the most well-deserved #1 in the world. Countless people have explored his existence and tried to uncover his mysterious veil, but this terrifying organization has never been revealed, and the only people who are active outside are the Shurlong people. Every time it appears, it is for the containment, and it leaves quickly after the plan is successful. Not to mention spying on intelligence. No one even managed to strike up a conversation. Mysterious and powerful style has attracted the attention of countless people. Foundation, not just kings. Even mage, The apprentice who was training next to him quietly pricked up his ears. That's right, Ancient One whispered softly. If the world could be reset, what about the Foundation? How can I confirm that the Foundation in our world is the same as before? Are they going to go through a reboot too? Calm voice. But it was like dropping a nuclear bomb on the lake. In the hearts of countless people, the waves rolled in an instant like a natural disaster. The Foundation? How could they? Wong stared wide-eyed, instinctively unwilling to believe that it was a powerful organization that could easily deal with all kinds of contained objects. Nothing is impossible. Ancient One shook his head. The guess that sprouted in my heart became more certain. It is because it is not the first time they encounter the contained object, so they're so familiar with it, as if they have practiced countless times, because they clearly know the characteristics of the contained object, so they can contain it in a targeted manner. And the phenomenon of scarcity at the top of the Foundation can also be explained because, haunted by those higher-level horrors contained, resist their invasion in the void. Ancient One thought of the terrifying existence that entrenched in various periods of time when the long river of time collapsed at the very beginning. Opposed beyond imagination, indescribably powerful, and only those powerful people from the Foundation beyond imagination can take action to stop it, even if it is just a glimpse of the figure holding a spear to shatter concepts. It will be unforgettable forever, and it will be completely imprinted in the heart. It is simply an unimaginable power. The higher-ups are fighting in other time spaces, even unknown timelines, which is why the Foundation seems to be empty. He may be the real Asgardians of our world. Ancient One's voice was a little choked. Long sigh. Looking at the people who were stunned, he added, "This is just my guess. Just use it as a reference. There's no actual evidence. Don't be too biased." That's what it says. B. Whoever believes the people below is stupid. In everyone's impression, Ancient One Mage is definitely not a person who just talks about it. On the contrary, she is usually taciturn. Once spoken, it is basically the truth. So, these are most likely true. Countless mages and apprentices were frightened, and some people couldn't help uploading the information to the internet. The Foundation fights in the dark. How could they let the hero disappear without anyone knowing? Fight in other time and space. Battle in an unknown timeline. Stop the invasion of unknown terrorist anomalies? Shit, who made this report? It's so outrageous. Could it be that the abnormalities we encountered are just some small fish and shrimps that they missed under their protection? The high-level Ingjiang patted the table excitedly. The exaggerated content one by one made his eyes widen. Sorry, sir. According to the review by the War Department, it is very likely to be true. Where the news comes from is Kamartaj, the Supreme Mage who controls time. Pretty secretary holding folder open. SHIL the empty at the top. Is there someone harboring evil intentions about the Foundation? Team Shock frowned. She has no confidence at all about the character of those politicians. They dare not. Ludin smiled. The existence with the spear is enough to crush all ambitions. And this information, it will only make them more jealous. Chapter 065, Supreme Divinity. Tony's Broken God Complementary Plan. One spear. Breakthrough virtual. In other words, the other party at least has the ability to bring technology back to the age of steam. The upper limit of technology is permanently locked, and it is impossible to move towards the internet age. Weak Foundation is so scary. What if Quanxing appears? And who can be sure that the information is true? The ability to turn time is mysterious in our eyes. In the eyes of the Foundation, it should be nothing more than that. Who could be willing to go to the Supreme Age? Yes, even if he is the only one at this stage. Who could be sure that the power of the Foundation in other timelines cannot cross the barrier to appear? No one dares to take such a risk. Even the most ambitious careerist who is not afraid of death. Nick Fury's tone was faint. With the power displayed by the Foundation at present. Time? Space. It's just a plaything. It's not worth mentioning at all. They're just greedy, not stupid. Nick Fury shook his head. He has dealt with those guys countless times, and the most basic understanding can still be done. Gotham City emptiness? Bruce shook his head, although he is not a believer in individual heroism. But the power of the Foundation clearly shatters common sense. After witnessing the penetration of the virtual spear, even if you don't want to believe it, you can only admit that the other party is terrifying. As long as he is here, the Foundation is as stable as Mount Tai. As for the high-level vacancies mentioned by the mages, it will only make the Foundation more terrifying in the eyes of others. Just the tip of the iceberg revealed is already shocking, not to mention the mystery hidden under the water. Protect the Earth? Bruce murmured softly, with a heavy expression on his face. In a complicated mood of countless people, the Foundation has become more mysterious and powerful, especially in the eyes of some smart people. Foundations that have been debunked are even more frightening. And as the center of the storm, holding a tapered spear, what about Lin Xiu, who is treated like a god? Yeah, Lin Xiu didn't know what these guys were thinking about after Dihua. He has been silently staying in the base, waiting for system feedback. Lin Xiu knew nothing about these things. If he knew, it is estimated that they will only applaud and cheer. I give you the pen, you write. It's too damn good to make it up. He didn't even think that the Foundation's ghost can be explained in this way. Have to say, as expected of Ancient One Mage, I have helped him many times overtly and secretly. It is simply the Foundation's best foreign aid. Ding! SCP-610 successfully contained. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a controllable version of the flesh and blood of SCP-610 Abomination. The system beeps. Not surprisingly, it was infected into a controllable version of the containment again. Panel. Flesh memes with a twisted abomination. It seems that there's a ray of invisible brilliance washing, although it is still full of proliferation and infection, but the disorder distortion has obviously stagnated a lot, and it has become safe and controllable. Controllable version of SCP-610 Abominable Flesh Object Class. Keter, a highly contagious skin disease that can spread to the whole body in a short period of time. After being completely infected, it will enter the restart posture. After the restart is completed, it will become a deformed body, and the flesh and blood will develop various distortions. With the distortion area as the core, it continues to infect outwards, forming an infection area, and inorganic matter cannot escape the infection area. This is a twisted and crazy natural disaster covering the world. Extremely weak resistance to flames. Owner Lin Xiu can control the direction and scope of its infection, and control the development direction of the aberrant body, proliferation distortion of flesh and blood creatures, natural disasters infected in units of the world. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly. The actual utility of SCP-610 was quickly identified. The second has too much impact and is easy to overturn. Even if it is him, he is not willing to use it casually. It's the first one. Controlled flesh, directed aberration culture. Zombies should also be a kind of flesh and blood creatures. Lin Xiu blinked. I feel that the zombie army in my hand can develop some new directions. His eyes moved slightly. Glance at the black light tyrant standing beside him like a sculptured guard. Lin Xiu didn't have time to think about it. The system notification sound rang in the ear again, conscientiously like a silent guard. Ding! SCP-610 containment is complete. Is the 8th containment object to be extracted and exposed? Whether Lin Xiu nodded and caught the overflowing information from the streamer. Is her. Lin Xiu's eyes moved slightly. Didn't expect to get this containment. Somehow, this can be said to be the first humanoid container with self-intelligence. Is it where to put it? Lin Xiu frowned, stretched out his hand, and pulled out the miniature projection of the map. Best for her. Definitely, this is the place. Lin Xiu's eyes were slightly cold, and there was a cold light in his eyes. Point the right hand. Direct lock. Start building JRVS. Stat loss. Yes, doctor. A large torrent of data poured from midair. Under the holographic projection, a picture full of technological sense emerges in front of your eyes. Miniature modeling of various mechs. They are formed and disassembled one by one in the picture. If there is a genius here who is proficient in mechanical manufacturing, he can even find out the general construction method of Ultron 1 through the detailed disassembly diagram. It is not impossible to try to push back to production. Overall loss of 27%, energy consumption 64%, construct defective 39%. Is replacement repair allowed using materials in the resource library? Allow. Tony stood on the arming platform, and while letting the mechanical arm dismantle the armor on his body, he opened his mouth to respond. Replacing and repairing. Estimated repair time is 17 hours. 17 hours? Tony shook his head and glanced at the countdown on the sky from the corner of his eye. You still have time. However, before Tony could breathe a sigh of relief, a police siren sounded in his ear. Mistake. Unknown program found. Unknown program found. Unknown structure has invaded and infected and cannot be repaired downwards. The repair is forced to be interrupted. Please instruct. Woo woo woo. The constantly flashing red light is matched with the mechanical alarm flute. Gives a strong sense of uneasiness. Tony frowned, looking relatively stable on the surface. JRVS, the details unfold. Tony tapped the screen. The internal dismantling of the mecha was instantly magnified dozens of times to the point where it was completely visible in the structure of countless similar parts. Finally, the sharp-eyed Tony discovered the difference. What? Tony looked at the scene in the mecha in front of him with a bit of disbelief in his eyes. Originally, top scientists, not to mention other aspects, the mech battle suit is definitely top-notch. Not inferior to interstellar level. Tony originally thought that nothing could surprise him, but when the parts in Ultron 1 were disassembled before him, his eyes widened, revealing an expression of disbelief. In the mecha that he had built with his own hands, a piece of program that he didn't know suddenly appeared. Not only in the soft control program, even on the mechanical structure, something he didn't recognize appeared inexplicably. JRVS. Check for possible infection. Tony vigilantly cut off the network directly, pulling off the network cable with one hand. Yes, doctor. A torrent of data unfolds in front of your eyes, turning into a 150 interlaced green ocean. Long, finally slowly stopped. Sir, there is nothing abnormal. This procedure has no infection effect. No. Tony breathed a sigh of relief. Only then was he reluctantly relieved and continued to explore inside. Instinctive upward complement, almost instinctive devouring other machines, repairing itself, and sublimating into a more efficient mechanical model. It's like it's broken. What are you trying to make up? Tony murmured uncertainly. He's sure of it. This is not his original program. Among the 3,000 mecha troops, only these 3 mechas have this special change. In a short time, he can already feel that these 3 Ultron 1 mechas have undergone earth-shaking changes internally. Their performance has been improved by at least 2 times, and they're still iterating. It's actually more perfect than the new version I preset. Tony pulled a sketch from the table in shock. The above is the design template of Ultron 2. There's only a general outline, and the details are still being refined. Could it be? Tony's eyes moved slightly, as if he had guessed something. If he had to say that something happened beyond his control, it would only be the Foundation when they restarted the world to reproduce Aljo with that weird machine, although the life forms were all ejected. However, the mecha troop was trapped inside because it had no life, and only for that period of time he lost control over the mecha troop. And this was the only time when accidents could happen. Is it really related to the Foundation? Some kind of higher dimensional power infected the mech without my knowledge. Tony frowned. After pondering for a long time, I didn't come up with any clues. Shaking his head, he simply stuffed it up first. JRVS put these 3 mechs in the bottom storage room, cut off the power and network, and empty out the surrounding metal products. Yes, doctor. The order has been issued. But looking at the countdown on the sky, the countdown kept beating. Etc. Tony left with a sudden pause in his steps. Slow down for now. Other mechas. I'll refer to them for the 2nd generation upgrade analyze those self-complementary mechas, and use them as a blueprint to create Ultron. Tony sighed deeply. Time. Wait for no one. He can research the second generation, but it takes a lot of time. And he can use the mecha completion program to develop a stronger version. Save time. It is equivalent to countless top mechanics, helping him deduce and build. Protecting the world requires strength. Tony clenched his fists, making up his mind. Ears. It seems to be able to hear the faint sound coming from the void, like fitting of machinery and gears. But a little something else. Tony shook his head. The blank gaze in his eyes became clearer. For this unknown power, he is always vigilant, and another force must be introduced. Holding Howard's relic letter, Tony made up his mind. JRVS, help me send a text message to Potato. If he doesn't accept it, I will do it alone. Yes, sir. SHIELD Director. Message from Tony. He wants to study the Tesseract. Find the power to protect the world from it. Phil Coulson walked over with a serious expression. Rubik's Cube. How does he know this thing? Nick Fury's pupil shrank, instinctively suspicious of any situation. Perhaps a relic letter from his father? Phil Coulson scratched his head. In the final analysis, this token was sent by him himself. Howard. Nick Fury frowned, as if recalling the glorious past, with nostalgia in his eyes. Director. Phil Coulson looked up. As the second generation of SHIELD in the mind of the marinated egg. In this turbulent era, Braze had already told him most of the secrets, just because he was afraid of accidents, which would lead to too much information and the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D. give. Nick Fury frowned. Tesseract, but one of the 6 infinite gems in the universe, corresponds to the most original space power of the universe. Space Gem is definitely an indescribable treasure. The strength of Team Shock is inseparable from this gem. On a large level, this gem is worth even more than the Earth originally. Under normal circumstances, with Nick Fury's character, it is definitely impossible to let go. Want to grab something out of his mouth? No way. B. Nick Fury looked up, and the countdown on the sky kept beating, just like the countdown of Death God. Then think of the uproar on the internet. Do you want to give it? Give. There was determination in Nick Fury's one eye. No choice. Earth, need your own strength. In a way, he and Tony agreed. The strength and expandability of the mecha unit also gave Braised Egg a strong confidence. Mechanical. Maybe another way. Pocket space some. Sitting at the desk, Lin Xiu, who was waiting for the contents to arrive, raised his eyebrows with a surprised expression. You say SCP-682 is restless. Yes, but it's settled down now. The Special Operations Team dealt with the progress in an orderly manner. Tisk, 682 Uncle must be making a fuss because he is too lonely, so let Little Peanut accompany him. Lin Xiu said, understanding. Anyway, the prison cell is next door, so it's very easy to drop by. Under the suppression of the controllable version, without the intervention of external forces, safety can still be guaranteed, and there is no need to worry about overturning. Without waiting for Lin Xiu to say anything more, the beating countdown finally stopped. Countdown to 0, exposure. 8th containment item SCP-053 Little Girl 9. Chapter 066, Mobile Natural Disaster. Inescapable killing, blood staining the world. The light curtain lights up. What appeared on the screen was a pink and cute little girl, wearing a cute tutu skirt. Looks like it's only 3 years old, but she likes cleanliness very much and looks more mature than the common little girl. In terms of mentality, it is no less than an older child with a smile on his face, which makes people feel warm. It looks very cute and warms my heart. Wow, what a cute girl. Didn't expect this kind of special existence in a messy storage. Phew, she's a cute lowly. She finally doesn't have to suffer from those monsters. There won't be another big danger this time, will it? Look at the image that emerges on the broadcast screen. Countless people couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They were finally able to live in peace for a while. Such a cute little girl. It can't be some terrible monster, can it? Moreover, SCP-053 looks like it is only 3 years old at most. Even if it looks precocious because of its good mental development, its body will never change. A small one that can be carried away with one hand. What kind of threat can such a little girl pose? Compared with SCP-610, which infects the whole world at every turn. It's a harmless little cutie. It's no wonder that so many people relax their minds, and their tense expressions are completely relaxed. Even others showed great sympathy. The little girl who looks so cute, if she comes, won't she be bullied? Many people feel sympathetic. To sympathize with the weak and take care of the cubs is an instinct engraved in the genes. Not to mention how cute SCP-053 looks. Is this also abnormal? Superman frowned. The cute look of S-173-CP-053 activated his instinctive desire for protection. Could it be affected by uncontrollable forces? Superman was a little sympathetic, trying to find a way to help her out. Such a small child should be a flower and tree merchant under the blue sky, little girl. Tony, who was staring at the screen, softened. If I have a child, it will definitely be this cute little girl. The corners of Tony's mouth curved slightly. Iron Man also has a tender side. Tony is obviously more patient with little girls than naughty boys. With a glance, he saw the little Pepper next to him out of the corner of his eye, just in time to meet her burning eyes. Cough, cough. Listen, Pepper, now is not the time. Tony rubbed his nose. He who returned to his youth and returned to the life of a bohemian prodigal son did not want to be bound by his family so soon. And the world is still waiting for him to protect it. Sans compte, it could happen anytime. Ask our cubs. Odin stares. The one-eyed rare exudes a soft gaze. Through SCP-053's lovely appearance, it seems to see a certain daughter who was sealed deep in Asgard by him. Hela. The deep voice echoed in the palace. With a sad look. Long time stay. SHILD pity. Protect. Nick Fury shook his head like a hardened old man. Stern. His expression was very serious. Tell all agents to enter the battle state. For any containment, you can't take it lightly. These are abnormalities beyond common sense, and you must not look at them from a conventional perspective. You must fight against them as the most dangerous and evil people. Nick Fury's expression was icy cold. Described by the Foundation, he has been tortured several times. Obviously, he will no longer be so superficial. Little girl? Idio. It was close to infecting the whole world before. Taking the planet as an individual, SCP-610 will spread to the universe. The Foundation also described it as a contagious skin disease. Who knows what their measure is? Naturally cautious, Nick Fury, who doubts anything, is not so easy to take lightly. Lovely appearance. Doesn't work for him. Nick Fury reached out and touched the blindfold. There were bursts of tingling pain inside. The same loss is enough to suffer once. As expected of our boss, it's quite a sneer. Black Widow teased a few words indifferently. She also has no mercy for this kind of cub. Or a smooth agent who can come out of the Red House. There is no such emotion at all. Just walk. Just pull the trigger. Then all are potential enemies. Killing has nothing to do with age, and war has nothing to do with SX. It seems that there is still content. Phil Coulson pointed to the screen. The eyes of the good old man showed some sympathy. FTE. Perhaps it is the most incompetent agent among the agents. Personality is optimistic and rarely gets angry, and only becomes uneasy when surrounded by many people. Oh shit, it still looks like an introverted child who is afraid of crowds. Look at the text on the screen. There were knowing smiles on many people's faces. The pity and sympathy in my heart became more intense. Isn't this a pure and lovely little girl? Cheerful, optimistic, but a little introverted. Exactly as expected. Next moment, the words that flashed across the screen made countless people's eyes widen. Anyone over the age of 3, as long as they have visual contact with SCP-053, physical contact, or stay around her for more than 10 minutes, they will quickly become irrational, paranoid, and murderous. In most cases, but in all cases, these feelings will point to SCP-053. Affected subjects will attempt to kill SCP SCP-053 after killing all persons within one or several lines of sight, but those who attempt to do so will suffer severe heart attacks after inflicting any physical damage to it, or die from seizures. SCP-053 has a powerful self-healing power, which can heal all kinds of wounds in an instant, no matter how serious. She is immortal. Is this possible? Is it fake? Could it be that the Foundation deliberately teased us? She looks like just a cute kid, right? How could it be as recorded? There must be something wrong. Yes, maybe there is something wrong. As the text in the exposed video appeared, the internet instantly exploded. The overwhelming barrage. It is the indignant defense of countless people for SCP-053. Have to say, beauty is justice. It can be said that it has been played to the limit on the internet. Even if the screen rotates on the screen to display the situation, there is still a large number of people who do not want to believe it. He even took the initiative to defend her. The little girl carved in powder and jade has really captured the hearts of many people. These dazzle guys. It's like blind and stupid star chasing men and women. The danger has not yet broken out to them. They definitely can justify SCP-053 with words. Bruce, do you think it's credible? Superman frowned. He couldn't accept that such a cute little girl turned out to be such a terrifying monster. Maybe, Bruce whispered softly, but his expression was very dignified. He had doubts on his face, but just to take care of his friend Superman's face, the alarm had already sounded in his heart. As smart people who can think without emotional baggage, Bruce's knowledge of the Foundation went even further. There is no reason nor sense to lie about such matters. So, this information must be true. A monster that can cause disputes among others? How should we deal with it? Bruce frowned, completely treating this as a containment object. SHIELD Director. Phil Coulson looked up. Meet the cold gaze of Nick Fury. He was right. This seemingly simple little girl is definitely a dangerous guy beyond imagination. Introduced by Simple, the marinated egg who has been poisoned several times has already described these descriptions and tried to think deeply about it. If it is said to cause chaos, then treat it as a walking natural disaster. Press Intercom Network. It was directly listed as a Level 9 threat that only surpassed the world. I think we should be more careful. Captain America frowned, not agreeing a bit. His benevolence prevented him from being cold-blooded. Every contained object is an existence that distorts reality. We can't look at it with common sense. Nick Fury frowned, his tone very firm. The attitude is vaguely opposite, seeing that there will be conflicts and internal strife. Phil Coulson, who plays the role of lubricant, said quickly, "Don't worry. The captain is right, but the director's worry is also correct." Look, new content has appeared. Phil Coulson, who is still organizing his speech, looked at the screen from the corner of his eye, and suddenly his face brightened. What's the best way to break conflict? Introducing more exciting big guys. Not only braised eggs, but Captain America and other members of the Avengers Alliance couldn't help but raise their heads. The broadcast screen in the sky went dark. When it lights up again, the small room where the little girl stayed has turned into a bustling street. But it looks a little messy. At the mouth of the gutter, there are even dark, crusty mice coming out, spray guns everywhere, scattered all kinds of wreckage, full of strong gangster culture. It's not a good craftsman at first glance. It's coming so soon. Someone spoke in surprise, but apparently no one responded. Dirty streets. The wild cats and dogs that emerge from the trash can also look more ferocious than other places. The cold fangs poked out, as if they had seen blood. Children look like China dolls, which is out of place in this place. It made countless people in front of the screen feel distressed, instinctively worried about her, and wanted to pray for her not to be discovered by villains. Obviously useless. Look what we found. A doll who grew up in a rich neighborhood. The sound of flowing air sounded. It wasn't just one person who came over, but a group of black people. There were more than a dozen gangsters with short knives and daggers, and there was a high probability that they had guns stuck in their waists. It's like going to participate in a gang fight, and I don't even have time to watch the videos in the sky. Looks like a good deal. Old Ford must have been willing to spend a lot of money. The man licked his parched lips, and his eyes were pierced, emitting a green light like a hungry wolf. At first glance, he looks like a child who grew up in a wealthy area. Whether it is extortion and kidnapping or selling directly backhand, you can make a lot of money. Old Ford subordinates do this kind of work full-time, and they can get a lot of money when they resell it. Who would have trouble with USD? Catch it. The leading gangster winked at his younger brother. Coming. The younger brother, who was heavily addicted to drugs and was as thin as a stick, walked over with a wicked smile while rubbing his hands. Earn big. The money you get can be fun for a few more days. Uncle. Abby is scared. The little girl squatted in the corner pitifully, and the sudden crowd around her made her feel restless. Fear. Don't be afraid. Uncle will take you to a fun place. An evil smile emerged on the addict's face, making him look even more distorted and frightening. Reaching out to Abby. However, the moment he met the little girl, suddenly, an uncontrollable tyranny emerged from the body ravaged by drugs. The silent eyes were replaced by scarlet color. The whole person instantly turned into a monster. Kill, kill, kill. The endless killing thoughts broke the rationality in his mind, leaving only paranoia and killing in his eyes. Don't even think about it. He took out the pistol at his waist and fired a burst forward. Bang, bang, bang. The bullets flew randomly, and the bleeding flowers burst out, which made him even more excited. With a body as thin as a stick, dancing excitedly after seeing blood, 2.8 is like going crazy. Ooh, it's you. How dare you shoot me coldly? The leading man was furious. Kill, kill, kill. The only response to him was bloodthirsty madness. And when the bullets in the pistol ran out, he slashed with a dagger. It was obviously just a dagger, but he used it like a machete. Oh, he's crazy. Kill him. The enraged gangster directly killed him. The arm with a numb pole was obviously killed with 2 blows without the strength. 2. This is just the beginning. Another person accidentally met Abby's eyes, triggering eye contact and falling into madness. Kill. The bloody killing broke out again. The one who was bewitched this time was a muscular man. After finally suppressing it again, the time quietly approached 10 minutes. Total killing staged. More than a dozen people directly killed without thinking, waving the dagger like a machete, ignoring the bleeding wounds on the body, madly causing even greater killings. Even gang members not far away were swept up, and the entire street was affected. Finally, someone found something wrong. Monster. It's that monster, stretching out his finger to the picture on the sky. The content coincided with him now, and his eyes were completely replaced by panic. What was originally thought to be far away actually happened to them. That girl. This is simply not a fat mutton ticket delivered to your door, but downright devil. Ah, I'm going to kill you, demon. Someone rushed up to kill Abby, and a bunch of bullets smashed her into mud. Chapter 067, 053 versus Mind Gem. A showdown of the power to twist the mind. Ha! I did it. I killed the demon. The rampant laughter stopped abruptly in the next second. The villain with a submachine gun had a heart attack, knelt down on the ground, clutching his heart, and died suddenly on the spot. Just when he fell, the flesh and blood in the mud began to surge, and the unscathed Abby appeared on the street again. Uncle. Abby's innocent voice sounded again. For others, it is undoubtedly the whisper of the devil. How can it be? Demon, you are a true demon. She can't be killed. I watched Abby being swept into mud by a submachine gun, but he recovered in the blink of an eye. And it can also confuse people and make them kill each other. Isn't this a demon? Someone wants to escape, but the pervasive killing completely enveloped them. Kill, 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 kill. The beast, twisted by paranoia and killing, keeps appearing on the streets, brandishing a dagger, pulling the trigger. Soon, the narrow alleys have been completely reduced to a hell of flesh and blood. The surrounding walls were smeared and discolored by plasma, and everyone fell into a pool of blood. Only Abby was left like a frightened little animal, stumbled and ran forward. Gollum, looking at the bloody walls, countless people couldn't help swallowing. Didier. Even the most face-conscious person, after seeing the murderous scene caused by Abby, His eyes could not help but be filled with horror. This is the little girl 053? This is obviously a devil. Satan. Demagogue Satan. Oh my God. Why do you let this monster run rampant on your earthly pasture? Death to the monster. Superhero. Come and get rid of her. How much did you care just now? How much I hate it now. The wind vane on the internet has changed, and it is as bad as ever. Witnessing Abby passively triggering the killing. Dozens of people, without knowing it, turned into 06 evil spirits whose minds were occupied by killing, and killed each other until they all died. This horrifying scene shocked countless people. Looking at Abby's cute appearance, it will only feel more terrifying. That's the devil's disguise. Asgard, what a powerful, bewitching force. Loki frowned. Although he is known as the god of pranks, his strongest power is definitely demagogy. Ja, proud of ability. Compared with SCP-053, it was instantly killed in seconds. Doing nothing can warp the mind. Let these bastards be slaves to killing each other to death. Horrible. Loki envied her power of seduction compared to her resilience of recovery. Monster. Nick Fury looked sullen. Unimaginable. If this monster appeared at the core of the Empire, what a tragic impact it would have. Hell's Kitchen is full of villains, and he doesn't feel bad about dying. But if it is in the financial street, or even put in the government, another unkillable monster? Nick Fury frowned. This kind of unkillable demon is the most difficult to deal with. Especially the other party has a terrible hazard. If you don't do anything, you can make countless people kill each other. It's like a killing halo, like the infection effect of a virus. Exposure the content of the video. It really is true. The fact broke through the last fluke in Superman's heart and made him feel unspeakably uncomfortable. A soft-hearted child. It turned out to be a demon that caused dozens of humans to kill each other. Even villains should be judged by the law, not die tragically under the killing. Abnormal. Superman clenched his fists, and his expression was not very good. But compared to a disillusioned Superman, there is another person whose heart is countless times more uncomfortable than him. ABT. Hell's Kitchen. Kimbin. FK. Damn it. That devilish 053. The place where she appeared is Hell's Kitchen. It is different from other people who watch movies from afar. He is a real victim. Jinbin, where he is Hell's Kitchen. Those familiar streets, just now, are obviously a corner of Hell's Kitchen, and not far from him. Jinbin wanted to vomit blood. The whole world is so big, and only a handful of containment objects have arrived. Logically speaking, it should be a needle in a haystack. But why did this little Hell's Kitchen encounter him twice? Unlucky, you don't have one like this, right? Quick, notify all gangsters. Avoid that monster. Everyone is not allowed to approach. As far away as possible. All actions will be interrupted after encountering her. The industry shrinks inward. Wait for this monster to disappear before recovering. Jean moved his body flexibly. While fleeing frantically, he quickly gave orders. However, his intensive order was obviously still a bit too late. Hell's Kitchen, outside Jean Bin's secret base. SCP-053 came to this place by accident, and not far behind her. The chaotic streets have become a killing field, and the blood is like ketchup smearing the walls. Bang, bang, bang. Clang. Machine gun bullets splattered in the streets. The long stick and short knife waved and struck, cutting out countless blood and flying across. From time to time, there can also be some grenade bombs, and even individual RPG rocket launchers are not uncommon. The smoke of war broke out. Many small countries in Africa can fight a war of extermination. The darkest underground kingdom of the metropolis. Obviously well-deserved reputation. The gangsters entrenched here don't have a single character. They're all extremely vicious, and the amount of fire they draw is increasing day by day. FK, those gangsters, are they all out of their minds? A gun battle broke out at such a time, and it's on such a large scale. Daredevil in a battle suit pokes his head out of the alley. His brows were tightly wrinkled and his face was gloomy. Although he is blind in both eyes and cannot see anything, His ears and perception are extremely sharp, similar to the radar perception of a bat, which makes him more agile than a healthy human being. Have a child. Daredevil frowned. The outline of the perception was that of a child. In the perception that someone is rushing towards the child and waving a weapon in his hand. Daredevil frowned. He directly threw out the blind stick in his right hand. Throwing at the villain who was rushing, he was sent flying, but the opponent rushed forward reluctantly. Tyrannical. Paranoid. It's completely different from the usual style of fleeing with one's head in one's hands. Something's wrong. Daredevil's heart sank. At the same time, the scene of his battle, also because of his proximity to SCP-053, was simultaneously rebroadcasted into the exposure video. Superhero. Why is he blind? I know. That's Daredevil. The superhero in Hell's Kitchen, punishing R and eliminating evil, has eliminated many bad guys. He can't see it, so he shouldn't save that demon. Think of him as a helpless little girl. Oops. Daredevil is in danger. Bullet screens erupted on the internet. Most people still have a good impression of superhero, especially the down-to-earth role of Daredevil, who deals with villains and bullies and is closely related to the common people. SCP-053. That's the little girl. It was triggered by killing again and again just now. Many people have already summed up some rules. Once the body touches, it will instantly enter a paranoid state. Being killed will occupy the mind and become a slave to the killing. It is impossible to control. Daredevil, agility in action, but apparently blind. If he treats SCP-053 as an innocent girl's aid and reaches out and touches him, then things will be in trouble. A Daredevil who has been infected by the infection. With super perception, he will definitely be able to kill those gangsters in minutes. Then, only one survivor remains. Under the control of killing, charge towards SCP-053, then trigger a heart attack and die in the exposure video. Similar dramas have been staged several times. The people who eat melons in front of the screen. I can almost guess the follow-up development with my eyes closed. Is another superhero going to die? Mr. Matthew, the Spider-Man who is swinging the cobweb to punish R and eliminate evil in mid-air, shrank his pupils. At the same time, he was also staring at the picture on the screen. As soon as the familiar figure appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of Spider-Man. Like Daredevil, he is the messenger of justice in the city, and the distance is so close. Peter also often goes to Hell's Kitchen to beat up the bad guys, and definitely knows the frequent visitor in it. Daredevil lawyers maintain impartiality during the day. Transform at night to execute justice. What Matthew does is completely the idol of little Spider-Man. Mr. Matthew, wait for me. Watching the launcher shoot out spider webs, swinging between tall buildings, causing countless people to exclaim. Little Spider-Man doesn't care at all. He just wanted to get to where Daredevil was as quickly as possible and stop him. But no matter how close they are, at the current speed, it would take him 5 minutes to swing the cobweb in the past. And Matthew reached out to support the monster. Up to 30 seconds. Damn it, hurry up. Spider-Man gritted his teeth. Groups of cobweb lasers, trying their best to make the speed faster for a few seconds. However, the reality is, can't catch up. They're still 3.5 minutes away, but Daredevil's hand has already stretched out. Hell's Kitchen The hand that was close to SCP-053 suddenly paused, and then quickly pulled it back. Something's wrong. It's so wrong. Daredevil frowned. After a few paranoid gangsters flew into the frenzy, the doubts in his heart became more intense. Gangsters with completely changed personalities, 1 or 2 could be understood, but a group of 2 groups? Something must have happened that he didn't know about, right? Little girl? Daredevil's expression changed suddenly, as if he had thought of something. Not only the outstretched hand retracted, but even the body that rushed past quickly retreated. Foundation. A few words spit out on a tense face. That's right. Daredevil can also see the live broadcast on screen, although blind. But as long as he looks up at the sky, when the screen is turned on, he can see the content, colors, and patterns, all clearly visible. He cannot see the video on the intrusion electronic product, but he can see the content constantly playing in the sky. But can see, not in the eyes, more like a direct reflection in the mind. The screen of the sky is just a carrier. SCP-053. That little monster girl who causes people around her to kill each other. Daredevil frowned. He is already sure about 063. In the tragic Shura field around, who else's abnormal behavior is definitely bewitched by her. Daredevil scowled. Feeling that the position he was in was still a little bad, he drew back and retreated until he reached the limit of his perception range. Retreat? No more refunds. If you move back, you won't be able to capture the outline of SCP-053. Asgard's smart mortals. Loki raised an eyebrow, playful with compliments. A blind person can do this to such a degree with his wit and escape from a deadly situation, which has already amazed many people. Loki, just as Loki was secretly watching the show. Ears. Suddenly, there was a majestic voice. Loki raised his head hastily and directly met the deep gaze in Odin's one-eyed. I don't know when. Odin, who had been staying in the Golden Hall, suddenly came to him. Midgard. It's also part of the Nine Realms. This time it's your turn to convey our Asgard kindness to the people of Midgard. Odin didn't play around the bush. Looked directly at Loki and cut to the chase. Me? I can't deal with that mind-twisting, bewitching monster. Loki dances exaggeratedly. He didn't want to deal with such a tricky monster. Even if he is Asgard, the god of trickery who is best at illusion and manipulation. To deal with that kind of unconscious power that can make countless people kill each other. Loki has no idea at all. No. You can. Loki. Odin shook his head. His eyes fell on the scepter in Loki's hand, with an inexplicable meaning. This is the glory of Asgard, and the choice you should make. You should understand. Like feeling Odin's gaze, Loki's expression froze. Could it be that Thanos gave him the mind gem and entrusted him, and Li Ding knew about it? Father, no matter how dissatisfied with Odin's eccentricity in private, calling him by his first name, but on the surface, facing Odin's figure in his prime, Loki still couldn't help but bow his head and choose to follow his heart. I know. I will not shame the glory of Asgard. He is the god of trickery, not the hammer god. Reckless never was his character. When it's time to bow your head, you have to bow your head. Heimdall. Odin's majestic voice sounded. Follow your instructions. The Bifrost opened wide, piercing directly through Loki, teleporting him there. Hell's Kitchen Bifrost fell from the sky. Loki, wearing a horned helmet, came out of the rainbow with a scepter. The mind gem on the top of the scepter is particularly eye-catching. Chapter 068, Eagle Sauce's strongest hole card. Terrible killing. Blood. Scarlet blood stained the streets. Remnants and broken corpses are everywhere, and there are hideous and twisted appearances everywhere. Like overturned paint bottles, all kinds of messy colors are painted on the walls. Tomato sauce was sprinkled all over the side. Not even a place to stay. Impressively, he looked like hell. The twisted killing is coming to an end. Huge Hell's Kitchen. The firing of the guns was hardly audible. This cancer of the metropolis, regarded as a troublesome place by countless dignitaries and senior officials, is gradually declining in silence like this. And there is not even a bubble in the cannibalism. Obviously, there's a cancer missing, but they were not happy at all. Looking at the pictures in the exposure video, I can only feel a deep sense of fear in my heart. Military a whole. Could it be that the confidant of the Empire can only indulge that monster girl to wreak havoc? The general's eyes widened. The heavy breathing made people worry that he might not catch his breath and pass out. Heavy weapon unit. What is the heavy weapon unit doing? Press them all on me. He slapped the table angrily, using fury to cover up the fear in his heart. The power of SCP-053 to distort people's hearts is terrible. Her unconscious infection, even a superhero can't handle it, will completely distort her mind and become a holy slave. As a senior executive of the Empire, I definitely cannot accept that this kind of humanoid, self-propelled natural disaster exists in the belly of the Empire. It's been tried, and it didn't work. The young Major General spoke politely. The mecha car has already driven in, and there are also self-occupied ranger robots. Being able to autonomously find and annihilate enemies within a range is a few versions behind Tony's mech troops, but they are essentially autonomous combat modes of mechanized bodies, used to perform special tasks. It is one of Eagle Sauce's hidden cards. B. Something even more frightening happened. Robot, obviously a robot, made of metal machinery after attacking SCP-053, a heart attack broke out strangely. Countless robots collapsed in an instant. Simply a fantasy. A robot made of metal, a purely mechanical product, can actually break out something outrageous like a heart attack. SHILD, heart disease, epilepsy. Half of the reasons for the loss of those robots are heart disease, and the other half is epilepsy. Wrong. How can a robot have a heart and a brain? Nick Fury looks up in disbelief. If the news hadn't come from Phil Coulson's own mouth, he would almost have beaten someone up. You told me the robot had a heart attack and died. Why? The three words robot and person are people. It's just a pile of metal. Where does such a thing as a heart come from? Forehead. It's the heart in a broad sense. Phil Coulson scratched his head and passed the military's internal communication. It's the heart of these robots, the power source. At the moment of firing, almost all of them collapsed, so the military said they died of a heart attack. Nick Fury was speechless and couldn't help twitching the corners of his mouth. That epilepsy. Don't you tell me it's a short circuit in my brain? Ahem, Ho Chang Ming. Phil Coulson praised and opened a document from the other side. Inside is a picture of a short circuit in the robot's central system. Eloquently sprinkle hundreds of copies. The family property that the Ingjiang military finally accumulated at least went in for companionship. Nick Fury frowned, like a complicated maze. Looking at the harmless SCP-053 in the video, an indescribable sense of absurdity welled up in my heart. Is this still a conceptual attack? Nick Fury is unbelievable. And the opponent's terrifying destructive power. Little girl, Brazdan's face was cold, his eyes were silent, and he was speechless after being hit by a critical attack. Is the name affection suitable for a little boy? The corners of Nick Fury's eyes twitched. He suddenly felt Hiroshima, the strange despair when he encountered a little boy and child. Who taught you to name it? Call this demagogic, indestructible, satanic demon a little girl? This is clearly a walking disaster. SCP-053 is more harmful than the most terrifying nuclear weapon for human beings. Containment. Sure enough, they are all abnormalities that distort reality. It cannot be observed with common sense. Among other things, just the fact that he can't be killed is enough to make countless people desperate. Just then Nick Fury frowned. While trying to think of a solution, the exposure video showed a sudden turn. A new character? Is this approach to the Protoss of Asgard? Nick Fury's pupil shrank. Surprise and surprise burst out in his eyes. Bifrost runs through the world. The unique way of appearance quickly attracted the attention of countless people. It's really a stage play full of killing. Loki shook his horn helmet. In the voice, with his unique aria, it is like a bard in Legendary, deliberately avoiding SCP-053's gaze. His cold eyes looked at the bloody mess around him. Loki's expression is a little serious. What a horrible killing. Although he is called the God of Tricks, and he used the script of the villain, but before the New York War, Loki did not cause many killings, so he has another name. God of Mischief. It's also manipulating people's minds to create sabotage, but the effect formed by Loki and SCP-053 is really different day by day. Demon. Satan. Loki avoids SCP-053's gaze. There was deep fear in his eyes. She was obviously just a little...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.